Hey everybody, just a quick content warning here. Duet is an episode that covers a lot of heavy subject matter. Nothing is ever depicted directly, but lots of characters talk directly about war crimes like rape, forced labor, and genocide. And as such, we also discuss these issues in some detail, especially in relation to real historical events. If that's too heavy for you, please, by all means, feel free to skip this episode. Otherwise, let's dive into Duet.
Ah.
Oh.
You know what? Drinks taste better when you do that.
I know Sarah doesn't like when I do that. She
You know what?
hates
Sarah,
it.
I hate it.
Sarah's wrong.
I'm with Sarah 100% on that. Thank
Dan's
God.
wrong.
Thank
Sarah's
God.
wrong.
What?
Look at this.
No. No, that's
Dude,
so cringe.
I enjoy that iced tea way more than if I just
That's
fucking sat there and
so
Wait, Dan, are you being
like some
facetious
sort of
there?
chump. No.
No, it's Dan being...
I've never liked it.
Really?
No, I have a direct memory
No.
of me doing this
Oh,
while in
we're
chat
starting at
with
10,
Sarah
dude.
and Dan. And Sarah was like, why do you do that? And Dan chimed in and said, well, it tastes better.
No, I don't think that's true.
Like Dan said it. Like,
Okay.
I remember...
I should clarify. I've never liked hearing other people do it, but I do know why people do it. I will do it. I've maybe done it in private alone out of
No, you
earshot
do it
of
while
all.
drinking.
What do you
on the
mean?
podcast,
You're
you've
in
done
your
it.
car, you lock yourself in your car and you're like,
No, that's so. I will never understand
Well,
that.
I do it
ever.
because I take really big gulps. I'm holding my
Yeah,
breath
dude.
as I'm drinking, and then I literally take a breath.
Well, that's
So-
why anyone does it. That's why it's a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
It's
know
a
what it is?
cringe thing.
It's
It's
not
like
cringe at all,
what
dude.
do the kids call it? It's an ick. You know.
you
Is
know
that
what,
is
dude?
that new
No,
now?
for me, it's the more smacking of lips I hear, the worse it is.
Oh, okay. I don't smack the lips. I just go.
I just like to. It makes me feel good
No, I've heard
about
you do that.
myself.
Because I remember being annoyed. I mean, do you
Well, you
have
too,
to
you bitch.
do you have to let everyone know that you're enjoying a
I'm hydrated
beverage?
and I'm drinking the essence of life, dude.
And enjoying life.
Enjoying
Yeah.
life, dude. I'm not over
Yeah.
here like.
Well, what are you
fucking-
drinking?
I'm
first of
drinking
all?
nice tea, dude. It's delicious.
I'm drinking for the first time an alcoholic beverage on the podcast.
does that mean?
Yeah. I'm drinking a strawberry margarita.
Now that your back surgery is over, you're allowed to drink.
Yeah,
again.
Yes.
Bane fucking
Yeah.
fixed your back, dude. He put
I-
that,
I You're no feel longer
he
like-
hung you
drinking
up
for
and then
two.
just punched the shit out of you in the back. Boom.
I realized this is my first time
Einstein.
drinking while recording. We'll see if it,
Yeah.
if it affects anything.
Oh man,
Well,
Tell
we'll
me
see.
anything.
you're a real newbie to this. Then
Mhm.
Well, before we begin, I just want
you know
to
what you should do,
thank-
Sarah? Is smack go. I'm telling you, you're gonna enjoy it much better. Just let it
No, I
out.
can't.
You know what?
No, that's
Here's the thing.
weird.
Is
That's
that an
so
ick?
cringe. It's
I
an
don't want
ick.
to be right.
It's a
What is
complete-
cringe? What does that
it's
mean? What is that word, dude?
Cringy, icky.
You know what's cringy, dude? Not enjoying life, dude.
It's an ick. It's a red flag. It's a
I'm all full of red flags.
look. If
dude.
I was on a date with someone and they did that, it would really make me consider the future of things.
Then why did you go out with me?
I don't
3
know.
minutes in, and she's questioning everything.
I
now.
do that all
I'm
the
still
time.
questioning my life decisions to this day.
Okay. I stifled my right now, and it doesn't taste the same. I don't feel the same. I feel like I'm holding in a sneeze. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Ah, my God.
Well, you have to let your air out slowly then, in order to not,
Or just
don't know,
drink
dude.
like a normal person? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't like that.
Well,
I,
okay.
God.
I now know how you feel about crystals because these are my crystals.
These
My-
are your crystals?
yeah.
Wow.
That's what I believe in.
Good to know. I'm glad Dan, at least one other person understands what I'm saying.
Dan
Like,
could
get
be
it.
swayed though. Dan could be swayed because he'll do it in private. He says he openly said it. So you're shaming him to go high, dude, and do this in
Yeah,
the fucking
I
in the
am.
dark.
Well,
the thing is, I
Correct.
agree. I would rather people hid that stuff.
Yeah, he closes his door, gets under the covers, you know,
Yeah.
and he drinks out of one of those crazy straws, and finally gets to his mouth.
It has to be in a sippy cup, though. It's very chaotic under there.
Yeah. Well, before we get started, I just want to thank our Discord channel member, Saint JL, because they saved our schedule, basically. If you're wondering why we're doing Duet now, even though last week we ended the episode by saying we were going to do Timescape, TNG's timescape. That's because Memory Alpha tricked us. If you
Those
go
perverts.
through the carousel of Memory Alpha that lists the air date of all episodes in order of all series, for some reason it puts Timescape before Duet, despite the fact that on Memory Alpha itself the air dates are the other way around. So here we are.
Well, I have a theory for that, and that is that week that was skipped that I mentioned to you, which was there was a week where DS9 aired, which was this Duet week, but TNG did not.
Right. So maybe they're just assuming it's going to continue alternating anyway, and just the timescape in front. Whoever put the carousel together. But
yeah,
you know, because the original cadence so far had been that. But I think what they did is they skipped the week so that both DS9 and TNG can line up in timing and end on the same weekend. Their seasons. So I think that's why they skipped the cadence. But yeah, we watched
Maybe.
Duet, which is, you know, one of the most important Deep Space Nine episodes of all time. Our Discord and our fans have certainly been talking about it quite a bit ever since we started Deep Space Nine. But Duet, before we get too deep into it, it aired on June 13 of 1993. Dan, let's enter this wormhole and see what's spit out of this wormhole.
All right, so I think it's been. Wait, when was the last air date of the previous episode?
The last air date of the previous episode was actually the end of May. The last day of May. Oh, not the last day of May. It was May 30th. So the second to last day of May.
So yeah, so I guess it's been 2 weeks then.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
I actually missed a movie release last week. First off, back on May 28th, I actually totally forgot to include the really bad Super Mario Brothers movie with Dennis Hopper and Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. That came out that weekend.
Did you call it really bad?
You watched it with us.
You watched it with us. You were having a hard time as well.
That's available on the internet somewhere, probably.
We have
I'm
proof
just
that
saying,
you also did not enjoy it.
You're barely the lead, dude.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It's not just that it's like not Super Mario Brothers, because whatever. It's just that it's not a good movie on top of that. It's just like really weirdly paced and like kind of confusing as to why.
I'll give some props to the art department of that movie for just inventing a lot of weird crap that, you know, is very unique. But
yeah, but it's also just really gross. It's like a not pleasant movie to look at.
It's a pretty ugly movie. Definitely.
But anyway.
All right. So with that out of the way, on June 1st, the president of Guatemala, Jorge Serrano Elias, was forced to resign after starting a national crisis during which he illegally suspended the Constitution and attempted to dissolve Congress and the Supreme Court in order to impose censorship and restrict civil freedoms in the name of fighting corruption. This was met with lots of protesting. The Constitutional Court ruled against all those actions, and those rulings were backed up by their army, which led to the president's resignation. Dang, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. That would be cool.
It sounds like their army's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like when Korea impeached their president after the president attempted to enact all these laws that they were like, "Fuck you, you can't do this." So that'd be cool.
Yeah,
and it feels like and this is just an observation,
right?
It feels like for a culture that has a lot of podcasts about talking about alpha males, there aren't a lot of real alpha males in this country.
Oh no. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's
one alpha male. There's one alpha male, and he's got beautiful eyebrows, and his name is Luigi.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Alpha males don't have to
100%.
keep declaring that they're alpha males. They just
You know what's
do
so cool? Is if his name is Luigi or Luigi Mario.
Yeah. Luigi Mario.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty great
And he
name
starred in the
now.
Mario Brothers movie instead of John Leguizamo.
A remake. We make a remake with him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Him and Chris
And
Pratt.
Koopa was the head of the fucking the CEO.
Yeah, and then he shoots Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
allegedly shoots Chris Pratt.
Yeah. And Mario's played by Benjamin Bratt. Just to mix it up, you know?
I don't know who that is.
This is a Law and Order guy and many other things. Yeah.
Okay. Got only 2 other things, or maybe 3 other things. On the 6th of June, Link's Awakening for the Game Boy released in Japan. So,
nice.
that was chugging along. Video games were doing their thing. Other June releases would include Battletoads and Battle Maniacs and Battletoads versus Double Dragon. They both released in the same month, and they looked very different.
Look, Battletoads versus Double Dragon was hype as shit. That
it was
like,
but it looked worse than Battle Maniacs.
Yes, but it's like a crossover. Back when crossovers were not that common, that was hype as shit. Like even
it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing.
But I think I tended to lean toward Battletoads because, they could turn their limbs into stuff.
That's why.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And finally, on 6/11, a very milestone movie released. It was none other than Jurassic Park.
JP, dude? The original JP?
The original JP, yeah. Remember when Jurassic Park?
John Paul the First, dude.
Remember when Jurassic Park used to do a lot of scientific research to make sure their depiction of dinosaurs was as accurate to the contemporary
No, it wasn't,
science?
dude. The raptors didn't look like that at all, dude.
They used to tell us all about DNA.
Yeah. Look, they were trying to be accurate.
They weren't. They were always inaccurate.
They were trying to be accurate. The release of Jurassic Park increased the prevalence of paleontology by a lot. Like kids got interested in dinosaur studies and all this stuff. And
that is a pretty cool effect.
With this fucking
and then they learned
Jurassic
everything
World
they
movies.
saw was fake and not real.
Well, they didn't know back then that, for example, the little dinosaurs you see are actually babies. They thought that was a different species. They just didn't know yet. And also, they didn't realize that dinosaurs had feathers.
Yeah, well, that's
They
one of the biggest ones. And
yeah,
something recently came out about T-Rex's arms, I think.
Yeah.
I think
they used to sing, hello, my baby, hello, my darling, hello, my rectum.
But what's heavier, a kilogram of scales or a kilogram of feathers?
Both, dude.
Well, and it also turns out that T-Rexes are not predators; they're scavengers, probably. So
there's only one predator, baby.
About the arms,
and they make some weird noises.
Where they
bleed
Dan.
Q Dan.
It takes me a second to run it up. Not really. I have to find it in my throat before it can actually start.
You gotta have the right amount of saliva too, if you know what I mean.
Okay. All right.
If they ever need you again for a Jurassic World movie, there you go.
Yeah.
They got him.
Dude, Jurassic Park versus Predator, dude. Imagine, dude, he just fucking those fucking dinosaurs up.
I'd watch that movie. That sounds fun.
See, I think that's where they're gonna take it. They're already taking it to stupid lengths with this next Jurassic World movie. They basically said, here is a literal monster T-Rex. It's like a monster. It's no longer a dinosaur. It's literally some sort of space monster now. So
basically, give me Turok the movie, but it's Predator.
Yeah, I think they're gonna eventually be it's actually been in the Alien versus Predator universe the whole time, and they're all gonna fight. And then,
the Predators do have the dinosaur skull, as a trophy. So
yeah, so I mean.
The T-Rex takes revenge. He's like, you killed my fucking grandfather, you piece of shit.
The T-Rex from the specifically the one at the end of Jurassic Park. The one that's the hero Tyrannosaurus Rex at the end.
Yeah. The one that roars and then it says Jurassic Park.
Yeah, welcome to Jurassic Park. As the banner falls down. Yeah.
It won.
Yeah, what a hero. It was the hero at the end. Even as a kid, even though the T-Rex scared the shit out of you, at the end you cheered like crazy. You're like, yeah,
cool. It looks like it's in a museum.
What a world.
Anyway, that's our trip through the wormhole.
Oh my god. That wormhole wasn't as deep as I thought would be given the 2 weeks.
No, it spit us out.
No.
But it's shallow depth.
But you know what? Let's go through our sponsors really quick. The first of which, Extra. They came out with their new Wallet Pro, which is basically an upgrade to what they used to call their Parliament wallets. If you know what Parliament wallets and Extra card holders are, they're basically a nice compact wallet that holds a bunch of cards, got a quick access button that fans out those cards in a nice motion. And it's got RFID protection. It's made out of high quality ingredients. And you can add all sorts of add-ons to it, like a tracker or a money clip or a coin pouch, all sorts of stuff. And the Wallet Pro in specific is an upgrade to the original Parliament because it makes that eject button metal, which is really cool. It holds a lot more cards. It holds those cards really snugly because one of the issues with the older Parliament wallet is that sometimes metal cards would slip a little, but you know. And yeah, you could check out all that stuff they do.
Extra's motto is, if it bleeds, we can put it in a fucking wallet. Is it
we can turn it into a wallet.
Yeah, if it bleeds, you can turn it into a wallet. I love it, dude. That should be their motto. Tell them, turn it up the ladder, dude.
They had a hell of a time proving that gold could bleed.
but it does, dude.
Yeah, but it does.
Yeah, you just leak their new Predator wallet, which is made out of Predator dreads.
Well, no, the Predators are doing. I'm making. They got Predator slave labor back there.
What?
I don't understand anything.
Little Predators are making the wallets back there, dude. They're the one because they're the ones doing the killing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So little Predators are killing each other?
No, yeah, dude. I don't know the rules.
Because it's made out of Predators, right? Right?
It's made out of the skin of all the creatures that kill.
Full disclosure, Extra does not utilize Predator slave labor to build its wallets.
That we know of, we should say.
I guess we can say that.
We don't know. We don't know for sure if their labor force is made out of Predators. We don't know.
Yeah. Jury's still out, but for now, we're still doing business.
We know. Also, we know they're now not no aliens. Could be Predators.
No, we don't know that either. Ricardo, we don't know that.
We
don't know. We don't know if the metal is molded using the acid.
I should say allegedly.
We don't know if it's molded using the acid from aliens, their mouths.
They have Arnold come and give the yearly motivational speech. Build more wallets.
Dance. Keep
Go
dancing.
See and
come on, they're here. Do it.
Keep making wallets.
Damn it, dude. Buy a wallet or don't.
Well, they also sell other things. They sell their grid backpacks. They have their grid duffel bags. They have their weekend bags. The thing we should say this though. Yeah,
it's Father's Day next month.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So
it's Mother's Day, way too soon.
Yeah.
You have no hope.
Yeah. You're
gonna miss out. Mention that one.
By the time this airs, it's too late.
It's too late. You've already disappointed your mother.
Yeah, unless your mom's dead, like mine. So then you're good.
God.
No party fouls there.
Oh God.
But your dad, if he's still alive, get him a fucking wallet, dude.
Yeah.
Or get him a key
gift.
fob or a keychain or a key holder thing.
Or a weekender bag.
Yeah.
Especially if he's one of those dads that goes like this. And he does that after he drinks.
Oh my God.
He deserves it, because he's really putting in some work. Especially if he does that after he mowed the lawn.
Yeah.
And he takes a sip of water or a beer and
get him a beer,
dude.
A nice
get him
frosty
a wallet
beer.
after that, dude.
So cringy.
Yeah.
Get him a nice frosty wallet.
Yeah.
After that, by heading on over to ekster.com. That's ekster.com, and use our offer code Newbie. That's NEWBIE for an additional 10% discount off of any order site-wide. And we say additional because despite the tariffs, they're still going to do sales. And if they do a sale and you use our code, it's still an additional 10% on top of that, which is pretty dang good. That stacks. That's all cool. And also, Ekster offers free shipping, free returns within 100 days of receiving your order, and at least a 24-month warranty in all of their products. If you have the Cardholder Pro or the new Wallet Pro, that's lifetime warranty.
Nice.
So that's pretty neat. But yeah, again, you can head on over to ekster.com. That's ekster.com and use our offer code Newbie for an additional 10% discount off any order site-wide. Next, it's become a mainstay, I think, House of Wise. Because you know what? House of Wise at least become a mainstay in my bedroom because I use it to fall asleep.
Pervert, dude.
I use it to fall asleep.
Okay.
I use the sleep
It works.
dummies.
I can confirm it works.
Yeah, but does he fall asleep and he needs a CPAP machine? You know what I mean?
No.
That's how deep it is.
I felt like one night it was like sometimes I'll try to wake Marvin up for something weird, I heard a weird noise, or can you, or I'll need to ask him a question or something, and it takes I have to shove him
yeah.
If he takes these gummies, I I'm
They're like,
worried
look-
that he's
Yeah.
not alive.
No,
It's
he's
like,
alive. He's alive.
So use them responsibly, especially if you are in vicinity of some place that might befall an emergency.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you
I
mean
mean,
like America?
Yeah.
Sick burn, dude.
And when he
Sick
wakes
burn on
up,
us.
I feel
Yeah.
like when he wakes up,
We have
like
so many declared emergencies right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
When he wakes
Yeah.
up, he doesn't like recognize me or like where he's at. Like
He's
he's like
he's
very
like, who the
like,
fuck are you?
yeah.
What are you talking about?
He's like,
Like, you
last thing I
seem very,
remember, I was
like-
fighting a predator.
Yeah.
And the predator was going,
That's
So if you want a very, very deep sleep, I recommend on Marvin's behalf, I'm recommending the gummies, the CBD gummies.
yeah. What's
Well,
a code?
they-
What's a code, dude?
well, House of Wise offers several different types of things. So
Erotic-
they do offer
erotic
they offer
gummies.
CBD products like the gummies. Some of it is for sex. It is for libido. But they also offer
Oh,
some
yeah.
for stress relief, for strength training if you're working
That's also
out.
for sex, dude.
but-
Everything you're mentioning is
Everything's
counts for
sex. It's all for sex. Yeah.
Sure.
But they also offer THCA products, which is neat. So basically, THCA is like the pre-form of weed, and
It's like, would you say it's the pre-cum of weed?
if pre-cum turns into cum when you light it on fire, yeah, sure.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
That's how it works, right?
I
Yeah,
guess
that's how it works. You light your dick on fire, and all
Yeah.
that pre-cum turns
That's
to
what
cum.
that's what biology.
Oh,
taught
not
me.
the actual dick, just the.
Yeah. Just the.
Yeah.
No, the tip of your, you light it like a cigarette.
No,
your
it's
dick.
like the remember.
Oh my God.
No, Marvin, you got it wrong, dude. You got to have a little device, kind of like the gun from Aliens,
yeah,
where it's got a
exactly,
little like
yeah.
wick thing.
Yeah,
with a little fire.
exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
exactly. Yeah, it's like a flintlock
Yeah.
pistol. You have to
Yeah,
put a
yeah,
wick. Yeah,
It has a pilot light.
yeah, as a pilot.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But anyway, basically that makes it so that the THCA can be shipped anywhere across the United States. So get your bag, everybody. Head on over to houseofwise.co/newbie Star Trek. And if you use our promo code newbie Star Trek, which is all one word, you get 10% off your entire order. which is
10%
pretty-
off.
Yeah, 10% off.
Nice.
And if you order anything that's at least $69, free
Hell
shipping.
yeah, dude.
Free shipping. That's pretty good. So again,
Sick.
head on over to houseofwise.co/newbie Star Trek. Use our code newbie Star Trek for 10% off your entire order.
Look,
All right.
look. A lot of our weed, most of our weed, all of our weed is American grown for the most part, right?
Well, it has to be for
Yeah.
for
Well,
border
illegal
reasons.
weed, you know.
Right.
Illegal
right.
weed still probably you get some shitty.
But do we
fucking
even
Mexican
need
weed.
illegal weed anymore?
I'm just saying. But if they had ever put a tariff on this, I would
Oh.
fucking storm the Capitol, dude, by myself, dude. I would make myself a Captain America shield, but with the weed sign instead of
You'd be doing that scene from Winter Soldier where he's
Yeah.
rushing at the fighter jet with the shield.
Yep. Yeah, dude.
I think a lot of
The-
people would join you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. They would have to pry the joint from my colded hands.
Yeah,
dude.
you would actually activate the scene from Endgame where
I
someone
would
would say,
activate my monkeys.
yeah, on your left, and then a monkey
Yeah.
shows up with a gun out of a portal.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's got an eye patch for some reason. Well, because he's already to aim. You know what I mean? 'Cause he's
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
keep his good eye. You know?
That's what that's
Yeah,
for.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Every day that goes by, I want this goddamn fucking army of monkeys, dude.
Someone's building it already. I can
I mean,
feel it.
I hope
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could be one day a commander of that army. I
It might,
love
it might be
monkeys,
sooner than you think. Might be.
and I love monkeys with guns even
Mhm.
more. So
You think Denise Crosby would have loved monkeys? with guns?
Ricardo,
Y-
could you please tell us what happened in
Probably.
this episode?
the internet, it keeps talking about like 100 men versus one
Oh,
monkey,
the
and I'm like,
gorilla.
I'm
No, the
like,
gorilla.
I'm
Very
like,
different.
you guys don't know shit, dude.
No, not
These monkeys, they will fucking tear your dick apart.
No,
Like
the
9 times out of
gorilla
10, they
is
go for the
different
dick,
than a
dude.
monkey.
I've
you
seen
know?
Yeah.
a gorilla expert weigh in, and she believed that 100 men, assuming that they coordinate to some degree, could do it. But
That
Okay,
gorilla expert's
okay,
wrong.
here we go. Dan, here we go. If, depending on the state they're in, they're not going to coordinate, dude. These guys, especially like
Yeah.
Look at what happened at
Right,
the fucking,
right.
look at what happened at the Capitol, dude.
Yeah.
Those fuckers couldn't coordinate. They were falling off the fucking wall, dude. You know what I mean?
I think
So,
men and their
yeah.
ability to coordinate is questionable. If it was 100 women, I would 100% believe that's possible.
Also, you're in the heat of the moment. You know what I mean? You're like, we gotta get this fucking, and then plus, like, you're seeing your friends die, and you're like, oh, we gotta get this.
Well, what about all the
You're
men
getting
that would
rage.
help bribe the gorilla to go after the other men that they don't like?
Oh, with what? Bananas?
That would still
Anything,
take
man.
coordination on some
These
level.
guys, once they get a taste for blood,
Every gorilla can be bought.
no,
okay.
no, nope.
Mm-mm.
Every gorilla has
That's-
a price,
nope,
Ricardo.
No, dude, you're wrong, dude.
You're saying gorillas are uncorruptible?
Yeah.
They're
That's-
uncorruptible, especially with a gun, dude.
That's why they make the perfect political army. They are
Exactly,
incorruptible.
dude. Because they're loyal, they can be bought, and they will fuck your genitals up, dude.
Yeah.
So,
You're not wrong. Monsieur
Yeah.
Mala is loyal as hell.
yeah.
Well,
true,
I'm
yeah.
team gorilla for sure.
And they'll be like, they'll start talking, dude. They're for Haramba, you know?
Oh my god.
And they'll just fucking, they remember. They've not forgotten, dude.
No.
Yeah, that's what they say.
First person they're
Yeah.
gonna get is that kid, dude. They're like,
Yeah.
first blood, boom.
And that's what,
let's
that's what
get
the
to it,
saying
dude.
goes. They say a gorilla never forgets, you know?
Yeah,
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah.
Especially if he's riding a fucking elephant, because it's two people that won't forget, two
Yeah.
creatures, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm,
All
mhm.
right,
Yeah,
dude.
you know what else they say? Elephants are copycats.
That's true, dude. Those bastards. All right. So this episode starts off and they're like, hey, the Cardassians are like, hey, we got a person and they're sick. They're sick as shit, dude.
Well, the ship itself is not like Cardassians. It's just that they say like we have someone who is in need of medical
Yeah.
attention, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
has
They had a
a
BDL.
virus or some sort
Yeah.
of like an illness.
Yeah.
Very specific one.
Yes.
It's one of those like weird, rare things like the McGregor syndrome, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a made up disease that
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
is there for
Is it
plot
called
Yeah.
reasons.
Hold on. Kalanora?
Calamari.
Kalanora?
Yeah, Kalanora syndrome.
The
Yeah.
Can Calamari syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you
Mhm.
can't get the taste of fucking lobster out of your mouth.
So he's traveling without his medication for some
Yeah,
reason.
he's basically got the diabetes, the Kardashian diabetes.
Yeah, he forgot his insulin essentially.
Yeah, and he's like, I gotta get fucking my sugar down, or else I start killing. And basically, they send him in, and this homie shows up, and they're like, hey, yes, send him straight to the sick bay.
Yeah.
And Kyra, she goes to go check up on him, and
Mhm.
she's like, God damn it, dude, I kind of recognize this fucker. This guy's a war criminal.
Well,
And
she doesn't
he-
recognize him specifically. She
but
just
she
know-
just says he's got a face of a goddamn fucking Nazi, dude. You know?
well, what it is that she makes the logical conclusion
Yeah.
that Kalanora is only contractable
Yeah.
for some reason by one accident at this labor
Yeah,
camp.
it's very
Like
super
one
specific.
accident ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as a result,
So
he
you
must
so
have been
you
at that
you
camp.
have to have been in this planet and specifically like near the mines, right?
near the mine
Yeah.
and specifically
Yeah.
when the accident happened. It's very specific.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so yeah.
So in her mind, she's just like, okay, you have this, you're a war
Yeah.
criminal equals war
Yeah.
criminal.
If you were a Cardassian and
Yeah.
you have it, you're a war criminal because you were there during
Yeah.
when this concentration camp was happening, basically.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So immediately she's fucking filled with rage and she's just like, let me get at this guy, dude. This guy's a goddamn Nazi, dude.
yeah.
And so
This is like the first episode where they kind of are very explicitly comparing Cardassians to Nazis.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
before, it was more of like
yeah.
a general oppressor or general occupier, general imperialist.
Right.
Now it's very specifically, no, they are Nazis.
Well, they're using the terminology is what clues you off, right? There's the words genocide, there's labor camps, there's
Yeah.
there's all these
Yeah, but
these
Sarah, you're
words.
describing a lot of a lot of oppressive forces around the world.
Right. Well, I'm thinking about like for this time period, they're referencing,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
very
they were
clearly.
in here. They're very specifically being like, this is Nazism. Like,
I mean,
they-
but
they-
also,
Like the Holocaust
they
and
could
all
they
that.
could be like
I mean, but it could be,
Armenian genocide. you know
it
what I
could
mean?
be
a lot of
it could be
things, you know?
any genocide, And I also think that another reference that I just thought of is the Germans and Nazis were really well known and highly praised for their organizational and the documentation aspect of it, which this leans heavily into that, and the filing system and the keeping, because if you look into the Holocaust and everything that was going on with Nazi Germany, it's very well documented because they were obsessed with documenting and filing and doing everything possible to keep notes and statistics on everything that they were doing. So, and that was like very specifically German and Nazi Germany. So,
if I may, that's when people are like, this how do I bring this? When they're like, oh, this is like Nazi Germany again. I'm like, these guys can't keep a fucking conversation private.
Oh,
you think these guys are fucking idiots, dude. They're not good record keepers. They're not good at anything, dude. They're good at hiring alcoholics.
Okay, so I honestly think that's a fallacious way of looking at that. So if you actually look at the way Nazis operated, they actually didn't operate that efficiently either. The myth of Nazi efficiency and making like super weapons and stuff like that is a mythology. It isn't real. And a lot of it is a creation of Nazi propaganda. Which
we touched in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's more parallels where like there is this like mythology they build. Like, what's her name? The lady who did all the propaganda films.
Barbie?
What was her name?
Leni Riefenstahl?
Yeah, Leni Riefenstahl. Yeah, exactly. She created all these like, Triumph of the Will and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And if you actually watch Triumph of the Will, which I did for film school, and you watch it and you're like, this is actually a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like the actual pacing.
I told you I got in trouble for clapping at the end of the movie. Because people were like, why the fuck are you clapping? I was like,
standing applause.
It's finally over. What are you talking about? We gotta sit through the piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, but what Triumph of the Will
for us, we survived that fucking
we
viewing.
survived, yeah.
But what Triumph of the Will does is that it's so repetitive that for someone who is like forced to watch the whole thing, you can't help but think there's got to be something to this. Like those armies must be that big. There must have been that many people waving, when in reality it was all a construction, right? And that's really the way like Nazi stuff has like sort of perpetuated to modern day. Like if you look at the History Channel and you see like them talking about Nazis, they're like, did the Nazis have a secret super weapon using the Lance of Longinus or some shit like that? And it's like, no.
Did they?
Like they're all more, or they talk about the Nazis invented a super tank that was 4 times larger than the American Sherman tank. Yeah, they designed it and it didn't work because it was stupid and big. Like there's a reason, like they didn't actually make good stuff. It was just like ways to like kind of shock. Like they were like, why were Nazi soldiers so efficient? And it's because they gave them meth. like they literally gave them meth so they would fight for 48 hours at a time. So like, it's gonna fuck up your army. And so in the same way, if you're talking about like comparisons to like modern comparisons, and they are stupid, but so are the Nazis. And a lot of the ways the Nazis got away with that is that like the populace back then was also willing to go along with the stupidity as long as it fed into their emotions of looking for scapegoats to their problems. So
I mean, I would hope that modern day audiences and people understand the point you're making, which is that there's
I don't know though.
Again, I don't know anyone. I haven't ran into many people that are like, the Nazis were bad, but boy, they were really good at X.
No, that is that is actually a very common thought process. Yeah, the Nazis were bad, but they made some pretty great rockets, and they had like all this cool technology. And it's like, a lot of that was mythological. I've never heard anybody
say that. I've never heard.
If you watch like the History Channel, there's like
I've heard them say
they
have Hugo Boss made a great suit. That's all I hear. Which I mean,
or Fanta is delicious.
They're not wrong. I hate Fanta.
I don't even know if Fanta is.
I didn't know Fanta was German for a long time until like a year ago. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's not German. It was made for the Germans.
Oh, it was made for the Germans.
Yeah, Coca-Cola made it for the Germans.
Coca-Cola made Fanta.
They couldn't.
They own Fanta.
They couldn't sell them Coca-Cola, so they.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I thought Fanta was specifically. Oh, you're right. It is American. Oh, what the hell? Then who told me that it's German?
Someone lied to you, dude. It was probably the Nazis. They're fucking propaganda, dude.
This is the propaganda.
Anyway, let's get back to the episode, dude. Here's the thing about this episode. There's no really a B plot. It's
No,
just
it
an
is.
A plot.
It is strictly an A
Yeah.
plot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which I don't know if maybe this could have. I don't know. I'm wondering if it could use the B plot.
Like what?
I don't know. It's just some like it was just like we were just stuck there with this fucking dude, and
Mhm.
I don't know, dude.
Well, let's explain the plot more so we can get a sense of what the.
So anyway, this guy shows up, and he clear, like we said, he had to have been there to get this disease, the Goldbloots or the McGregor syndrome, whatever.
McGregor syndrome. Let's call it McGregor syndrome. Yeah.
And so Kira's like, this guy's got to pay for. We got to keep him here, and then Cisco's like, well, it's like innocent until proven guilty, dude. Like we have to return him because we promised that we would take care of him here. We'd treat him.
Mhm.
So unless you have like tangible evidence, then no. You know what I mean? And basically, she convinces Cisco that she'll be fair and conduct a proper investigation. And he actually gives her like he kind of makes a good point. She makes a good point.
Yeah.
With Cisco, and he lets her take over the investigation.
But that's also a parallel with Nazism in that after everything was said and done, like Nuremberg trials were conducted by Jewish people because they kind of needed to like be the ones to be like, this happened to us. Like we should figure out what, Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I do agree with Cisco's line of thinking in terms of like we definitely need evidence and just making sure we are thorough in our investigation.
His tact.
Like we can't just assume. Like Kira, I felt like she definitely was just like, oh, he's Cardassian. He has this disease and he's guilty. Let's go ahead and throw the handcuffs. And I think even putting him in jail was a bit infringing, right?
Well,
at this point
he wasn't. I don't think he was in jail. He was just being. Well, at first he was in an infirmary. You're right, and then like he was kind of detained.
But then they sent him to.
He's not really in jail. He's just detained.
But what is he detained for? Like most of the episode, we don't have.
He tried to run, but also he kept lying.
But can you be? They touch upon this in the episode. Like, what's his crime? Lying? The Cardassian at the time.
What's the crime? What's the crime?
Yeah, it's just like
it's a succulent Chinese dinner.
Yeah, it can be a slippery slope. Yeah. Obviously, we know how it works itself out, but I agree with Cisco in that like we have to.
But they didn't send him to like a Salvadorian prison, dude. Like they just kept him here.
I know, but it makes you wonder if that was even lawful or legal, really. Even
just let him walk around with his diabetes.
And also, to be fair, he was directly under suspicion of being a war criminal.
Yeah. But also, he's still under medical care, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like if the government does like directly have suspicion that you're a war criminal. It's
on what
not
grounds?
But by the way, we should say that there's a dude who was getting out of jail, like the drunk tank or something.
Yes, he was in a drunk tank essentially. Yeah.
He immediately looks sketchy, dude.
Yeah, immediately he was like, "Oh, we're gonna hang that Cardassian, right?" Yeah,
which is terrible. War criminal or not, like.
So this guy, I do want to say something about this guy. I like this actor a lot, dude. Harris Yulin. He is in a bunch of shit.
The most recent thing of note he would have been in is, and Sarah, you would know, he's Buddy in Ozark, the guy who owns the house. The crazy old man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah. His voice is very, very, very distinct, and you'd recognize him anywhere. He was,
except for me,
one of the wise men from Training Day. When Denzel goes to visit, when he goes to the Pacific Dining Cart to go get the okay to kill the other dude.
Yeah,
he's one of the three wise men that he goes to see to approve it.
Forgot about that happening in Training Day. Yeah.
And then he's in Clear and Present Danger, and he plays Bernstein in Scarface. If you're a Scarface fan.
Oh,
it's the scene with Robert Loggia.
Okay, I don't remember that at all. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because it's funny because I used to confuse him and Robert Loggia a lot, but once you see who he is, he plays like the dirty like a DA or cop, and Robert Loggia is in cahoots with him, and basically like basically like Scarface takes over, Tony Montana takes over, kills Robert Lloyd's character, and then he starts doing business with this guy. But he's a character actor. He's been in a bunch of things. He played the judge in Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah. He was like, he's like, those are the whatever brothers. I had them sent to the electric chair.
Yeah. He's a really great character actor. Again, a guy who's like, he's one of those guys. He's that guy, right?
Yeah.
All right. So he basically lies in the beginning, and he says that no, he doesn't know. He got the wrong guy, blah blah. And then he's like, yeah, I was there. And then he lies about who he is, and then eventually he says, "You got me. I'm Guy Gallard or whatever his name is, Guy Goulart."
Goldar Heel.
Golda Heel.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he was like the head honcho, basically. Like he was like the guy in charge of like camp, and then also at the same time, Odo's getting information from the guy he used to be friends with, who also like he's the guy who sent him, right?
Yeah. So Golda Kott, you may recognize him from the first episode. He was the goal. It was the goal that was giving Cisco a hard time when he took the station back over. Because this was originally Golda Kott's station when the Cardassians were in control. So he's back to talk shit, basically.
But interestingly, when he's talking to Cisco, Golda Cat says, "Hey, if any of your Bajoran like hate mongers lay their hands on him, I'm going to hold you personally responsible, Cisco."
Yeah.
And then this dude ends up getting killed.
That's
on
true.
the station.
Yeah, well, and then they never explain anything.
Well, we don't know what happens beyond that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, so I'd be very surprised and impressed if they had any ramifications for that, but I'm assuming no.
Well, it seems like this guy was acting alone, and it was a very funny business from the very start.
Yeah, but how do you explain that? Like, oh, he, how did they not know that he like fell on a knife? You know what I mean? There's no proof. You know what I mean?
Backwards, perfectly on a upright knife.
He's like this guy. He was.
He basically got white power build.
Yeah.
Cardassian power, Bill. I'm Cardassian.
This is the exact same way. This is like a prison shank. Like remember American Me, where he's like, open your eyes, and he fucking shanks him. This is kind of the shanking that he got. Here's the thing.
What about Shawshank Redemption?
No, American Me. So Gal Gadot, he's like, hey, I'm Gal Gadot. I'm Gal Gadot, he says. Yeah. And so she gets like perked up. She's like, oh, fucking Gal Gadot's a bitch, dude. And he like was in charge of all these things, and like he's the top ranking guy, right?
Yes.
And then they go to the guy who used to be in charge of the base, and he's like, no, that dude Gal Gadot died fucking long time ago, dude.
I was at his funeral.
Yeah.
Which if you think about this too hard, it's definitely a plot hole. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Contrived.
Yeah.
How anybody like, how does dude look like one of the biggest fucking
that's the thing
leaders, and no one is just like, hey, you look like this guy, and
it makes you think like Kira should have recognized him on like by face and been like, you're fucking Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. I can recognize Gal Gadot anywhere, dude.
It's the equivalent of like basically getting cosmetic surgery to look like Colin Powell, and no one on your journey to the Iraqi war base where you're going to submit yourself goes, wait a minute, you're Colin Powell.
Which makes me feel like if this guy's Colin Powell, the Gal Gadot's Colin Powell, the guy that they have here arrested is like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Like, you know what I mean? Like he looks nothing like him really.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm Colin Powell. I'm the guy. And he's like, you're like, no, you're not the guy, dude.
Like, no. But then that falls apart because we see the photograph and you're like, oh, obviously it's the same actor. You know, they're doing the whole like,
did a very good job.
Yeah, it's like an exact match. And then you would think like going through the plastic surgery and all of that with some red flags in their Cardassian system.
Why do you want to look just like
why do you want to look
one
like
of our
oldest? Like that's odd, you know?
Yeah.
Like it would be like if I got plastic surgery to like, you know, when I brought a picture of like, you know, some horrible
Hillary Clinton,
you know, some leader that like, you know,
like Nancy Pelosi. You're like, I'm Nancy Pelosi.
Like in my notes, I have it down as like this guy was counting on being caught for being another guy that he actually wasn't.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then like
Yeah.
he keeps saying like, I'm Gal Gadot. I did all these things, and I wanted to kill. Like he's really pushing like the Gal Gadot like agenda, you know?
Right.
And he's being extra cruel. Like he's like, fucking I buried those motherfuckers. I loved hearing them scream. Like he's like really amping up.
He gave the speech like Sam Jackson. Like, I killed him, and I hope he burns in hell.
He's really trying to be a horrible person.
Well, no, I think he's just playing it up. He's playing it up.
He's playing it up. But we now, you realize why eventually.
Yeah, and I have one of the things in my notes is in one of the scenes where like they're walking around the hallway, one of the doors opens up and it looks like a fucking like a Fallout vault.
Oh no, yeah, their dock doors look like Fallout gear doors. I've always noticed that. Yeah, like
they roll in and out of place.
Because I was watching with my kid, and he's insane into he was really into Fallout before, but he just restarted playing all the games.
Oh,
and he's like, Fallout door. He got really excited.
That's a really dark series of games for a kid to play.
Well, he likes dark stuff, dude.
All right.
No, that's just reality.
It's gonna go right over his head.
It's not dark anymore.
Yeah. He watched the show. It was fine, dude.
All right. There's had explosions in the show too. So
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
just don't let his parent his teachers know.
I'm his parent. What are you talking about?
No, let his teachers know that he's been playing Fallout games.
You think the teachers know? They don't even know shit, dude.
Well,
they're trying to keep their head above water, dude. They don't know shit, dude.
They're trying to afford pencils for everyone.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how to pay for the fucking rent with what they're getting paid, dude. You know?
You're not even wrong. This is not even a joke. This is
it's not even a joke. Like, no, like yeah. Piece of shit approved crazy that he wants to give billions to the armed forces, but teachers, they could go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
All right. So basically the Bashir shows up and he's like, yeah, he does have McGregor syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he like all these things, like he's got like a bunch of shit wrong with him. He's like, but also he's like, he's been taking medicine because he got like a BBL, but for his face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has like face filler.
Yeah, BFL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A butt facelift. And so they realized like, oh, this guy is fucking trying to look like Gal Gadot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I feel like at this point, like shit wasn't adding up for people. Everyone was just like, who is this motherfucker? Like, everyone,
also, I don't believe anything he's saying because he's like, no, I'm not the guy. Also, I don't know what his final plan was. Like, why not just come in and go when they're like, hey, are you Gal Gadot? He could have just been like, yeah, I am. For what he wanted to do, his plan was, basically he was a file clerk. Well, we went the long way to say he was a file clerk that worked for Gal Gadot. And he hated what was happening there.
Right.
It traumatized him. It gave him PTSD.
He didn't like it.
He didn't agree with what they were doing. And it gave him like horrible like PTSD. And he wanted basically like, hey, I didn't do anything. And it's like a punishment for not doing anything. I want to like be not a martyr, but like kind of a little bit like, but basically he's like, if I die for this, basically, then more like there could be more trials about it because you know what I mean.
Basically, he wanted to make sure that Gul Darheel was put on war tribunal.
Yeah.
For the crimes. If he was publicly put on trial,
heavy quotations there, the actual guy, right?
Yeah, but if Gul Darheel was publicly trialed, that would have made more exposure towards the specific Cardassian crimes. They would have had to accept
responsibility.
Yes. And he was trying to basically force their hand, really long,
really roundabout way.
Yeah. That and really the plan almost worked, but the only reason it didn't is because he mentioned that Kira was part of this terrorist cell. Yeah. And Odo was the one who caught that. Why would he know that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why would he recognize you? Like he's like the head
of a
very
subtle detail for him to notice that is off, which is interesting to me as like in terms of writing.
Well, that's Odo for you though. He's always.
But also, this is a little wonky episode, dude.
Yeah.
It's a little wonky. Like I like what they're talking about, and I like the spirit.
Yes.
Of which it wanted.
Sure.
With the spirit of the episode, but like as the execution left me wanting more. I don't know. So at the end, basically, basically she realizes like, oh, I get who this guy is. I get what he's trying to do, but killing him is not the right way to do it. And she basically like lets him go. And then that fucking drunk guy fucking shanks him in the back. He's like, open your eyes.
Right.
Fucking stabs him. And she's like, what did you do? And he's like, fuck all these Nazis. And she's like, well, that's not the fucking way. Like the way, you know what I mean? Like you're doing it all wrong, dude.
Well, the thesis of the episode is that it's trying to say judge individual people for their actions, not for what race they are.
Yeah.
So like when he's embodying Goldar Heel, he's basically probably imitating the actual Goldar Heel. Goldar Heel probably was super racist towards Bajorans. So he probably was actually saying all this.
Yeah.
And in the same way, because of what happened to them, that Bajoran guy is now racist against Cardassians.
Yeah.
And the thesis of the episode is supposed to be, no, judge the individual people and what they could or could not do. So that's what it wants to say.
Not all Germans are Nazis, basically. That's it.
That's what it wants to say. Yeah.
So I agree with, well, I don't know if Ricardo's saying this exactly, but I also feel I can agree with the spirit and the message, and obviously it's super relevant and it's happened in the past. It continues to happen. It's something that I feel like is inherent in the human race, which is unfortunate. But I feel like it was messy the way it was executed. The way the plot and the writing was, it just felt like a little unfinished, unpolished.
Well, one of the weaknesses of the episode, the primary weaknesses, is the fact that it's this weird double fake out. It's that's the part that doesn't work. Like just give. That's why I said that. I really pointed out that there was no B plot, because I feel like if you just do no double fake out, just do it straight and have a B plot, you could have a B plot that involved that with Odo or somebody else doing a secondary thing, or the Doctor going through something, or you could have kept. Well, you could have stayed with the plot and maybe have seen Odo. Remember, there was that episode where they were trying to investigate the potential war crimes of Dax, and they had Odo visit the planet, and they had Odo like conducting on the ground investigation. Odo could have done that. That could have been a thing that happened for this episode.
Or it could have been an episode where we actually see, what if he stayed the filing clerk, his original persona, and he goes on trial for that, because for Kira's logic, the filing clerk was anyone who was there is guilty. It didn't matter if you were filing clerk. Didn't matter if you were the leader.
Yeah, she did start there.
Yeah, she started there, but then she changed her mind, though.
Why didn't we? But it would have been cool to like, okay, let's do the trial, and then we arrive at that. Well, maybe.
I do agree that this is always better. That like you're like, well, look, following orders is not good. Just saying I was just following orders is not good.
No,
but at the same time, like how the spirit of what this guy was doing, like I like that I like the growth she had with this. I do like that.
Yeah, this episode's trying to be a growth episode for Kira specifically.
I just don't like how we got there.
Yeah, but I mean, the other way you wouldn't have gotten the growth as much as this. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't think going through the trial and hashing it out and really figuring out?
Because then she would have been like. Because you're just saying like everyone was there as guilty, so she would have been. But
I think once you start to go through a trial and
so you wanted a trial episode,
and start to discuss like are people who are following orders or present during or complicit or incompliant, are they guilty? Do they deserve to be guilty of war crimes on the same level as the leader? I don't know. I think it would have been cool to like hash that out and discuss it,
So your idea actually was the original idea. So
I should have gone with that.
So the first instance of this type of story that was actually pitched by two interns who were working on the show. They pitched it to Michael Piller. They were like, what if you had like an episode that confronts...
a hell of a fucking episode to pitch.
Just you confront some of the war crimes Cardassians have done. But the way it was interpreted was that like, okay, Michael Piller was like, okay, that sounds a lot like Trial at Nuremberg. We've done a bunch of those for TNG already. Maybe we don't want to do that exact concept, which is why later...
we already had a court episode for Dax in season 1 already.
That's also true. Exactly. Yeah. So
two court episodes in one fucking season? Too many.
Yeah. So that's why... I mean, I like them too, actually. I think that would have been neat. But also, especially since like, the way that trial went was like this interesting, like Bajoran, like intermediary thing. It was less of a trial than it was like some sort of arbitration. And here it would have been like, like a war tribunal, like trial in Nuremberg. But Michael Piller didn't like the idea, so that's why they eventually redid this idea to be Duet, which was more of the keeping a unknown prisoner and interrogating that prisoner and examining their potential crimes, etc., which is a very different idea.
But then you go down this like plastic surgery thing, and it just gets
there's a lot of
little.
Yeah, I that's the part that was like, I feel like unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like you could have done it a different way. But here's the thing: I do like that. I like her growth. I like the growth in Kira, and
that's the most important part of the episode. Is that
whether it. I don't think you would have gotten that the other way without.
It would have been more
fake
difficult
out.
if you had the trial. Kira could not be directly part of the trial.
Exactly.
Therefore, any growth she had would be passive. It would be because of the trial happening.
Why could she not be part of the trial?
Because she's not a lawyer, etc.
I mean, but she's a Bajoran. I would imagine that she would at least be present, questioning.
But why? She's not a lawyer.
I mean, I could easily see them just saying you're going to be the representative, and there you go.
I don't know if I ever saw like a lawyer. This is Star Trek.
That's true.
It's like,
the premise of Measure of a Man is that they figured out some sort of dumbass presence. Or
it wasn't Riker's a lawyer, but they made him one.
Well, and also that was actually based on actual maritime law, where if it turns out if you don't have a JAG on command, you do make your captain and your first officer do it.
Well, yeah, and then similarly, you could just invent anything for a space station.
And you could potentially have said, "Hey, DS9 doesn't have a."
Say, "Parlay, take me to your captain." Yeah,
and maybe they could have also said, "Hey, we need the trial to take place on DS9 because it's neutral-ish. Also, we don't have any lawyers on DS9, so it's going to be Cisco." They could have just done Measure Man again.
Yeah,
yes, they could have.
Yeah.
But also, like, there's the whole point of like, okay, Bajorans, this happened to them, and now they're getting their chance to be involved in the trial and have some say in what was committed against their people. So I mean, she could have been involved that way. I don't know. I mean, again, it just felt messy. I don't necessarily like hate it. It just felt a little messy. That's all.
No, that's fair. I think that's completely fair, and I think that is one of the weaknesses.
But also, it's TV. It's fucking 1 hour. I get it. Yeah, I mean, like it's I get it.
But they went a complicated route. I feel like you could have made it so much easier than doing this whole Ricardo, plastic surgery thing. And
they actually, I think, kind of squandered some of that hour. I think it could have.
Yeah. They did.
I think if he had started off as being them almost immediately. I think logically it would have made more sense if they immediately suspected he was Goldar Heel, right?
Yes, that would have made the most sense.
Then if they then progress from there to slowly realize that he is this clerk that he keeps talking about, remember?
Mm-hmm.
But so maybe if it turns out he keeps talking about Maritza as this like fool who used to work for him, and then it turns out he is Maritza, that would have been
sounds delicious.
Yeah,
that could have been like a nice
Maritza.
Like build up to a twist at the end.
Delicious hummus.
Instead of this double twist.
Yeah.
Because the double twist kind of makes you go, okay, what's really going on? But literally by the end, I remember Sarah being like, okay, so is this what's really going on now? Like, because it's like, it's done it enough times that you're kind of going like, you can't trust what he's saying anymore. So
I mean, part of that, like stringing along and not quite knowing exactly what's going on until the end of it, reminded me a bit of the Defector from season 3 of TNG.
Right, but in the Defector, it was just one point. Like he claimed he was one, and it turns out he was this. That's it.
Right. Well, it was there is going like either I'm telling the truth or I'm not, and like it was kind of like you didn't know until the very end whether or not he was telling the truth.
Yeah. That's also true. And it turns out the Cardassians, not the Romulans, were playing him. Yeah. So, but that was less him doing multiple twists than it was that he was also betrayed.
It was less annoying in that way.
Yeah. In that case, the double twist felt a little more earned because it wasn't just one party constantly flip-flopping. It was one party revealed to be who he is, then another party revealed to have betrayed him, and that plays out. I think that works. I think that episode's very effective as a result.
No, I love The Defector.
Yeah. The Defector is a great episode. But yeah, what would you guys rate this? I'm curious. This is like one of many people rate this as one of the best, if not the best episode of DS9.
Oh my God, dude. That's what you say about every episode, though.
I think the emotions run very high in this episode. They hit very well.
Yeah.
They load up the cannon very
Yeah.
well because they mention and list all of these awful descriptions of atrocities that they committed.
Yeah.
And so like they kind of make sure that's all in your mind before that 180 breakdown that, Maritza does. And if his acting wasn't good, it would have really sucked. But
It was on the verge of being a little too much at times,
yeah.
Like there was a few
I'm
moments here and there.
I'm on the
Yeah.
fence about it.
Yeah, there was a few moments where you kind of like, ooh, that's a little broad, but it works for me because
it worked for me.
To me, it works in the context of you realizing he is acting. Then the bluster of it.
Yeah, but then he
Right.
gets like when he's like caught in his lie, he's kind of like, ooh, it just like looks like he's like, oh, and I don't know, like it's like a little too like on the nose his acting. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, and you've just been caught in your lie, and he's just kind of like, ooh, speechless and looking like, it just felt a tad much, but.
I think part of it is that who's the actor's name again? Harris
Yulin.
Mhm.
Yeah, his general acting style I've seen in many things leans mildly towards comedic, even if it's a completely dramatic role. Like even in like Ozark, Buddy is like a kind of comedic character, despite the fact that Ozark is for the most part completely serious. So like I think part of it is that his general way of delivering stuff can be have a little more
Between
levity.
this guy and Garak or Garak or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Cardassians are starting to feel like hams to me.
Well, this was one of the first episodes where you also start realizing lots of Cardassians just like having long, lurid speeches, just talking about things.
Oof.
Like even Gul Dukat, you hear when he's talking on the transmission, it'll be like, no, that wouldn't be what. He's like very like going on and on.
Sure. They all chew scenery to some degree.
Yeah, they're all scenery chewers. Yeah, they all love chewing this. Even when David Warner with Picard, he also has lots of long speeches he likes to do. It's just a Cardassian thing now. Yeah. So,
but I mean, for what it's worth, I think the emotional beat hit for me. There are, of course, there is weirdness to this plot that we've all talked about so far. I think I'm willing to give this an 8.5.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm willing to give it an 8.5.
I'm gonna give this a 7.
Ricardo's giving it 7. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the incredibly 90s era CSI enhanced picture scene.
Yeah, dude.
Although, okay, here's a crazy part I realized.
Rotate 100 degrees.
Okay, that part is ridiculous. The part where they can rotate a picture.
So
that part still doesn't make a ton of sense. But
I mean, they did it in Deja Vu, dude.
they did it in fucking Enemy of the State, where they're like, Jack Black is like, now turn it 90 degrees, and then they turn.
That's a good movie, dude.
I mean, you can tell AI to do that, and it'll just invent it for you.
Both of those are Tony Scott movies, by the way.
Tony Scott loves rotating pictures. Yeah. But the crazy part
Tony
is
Scott.
the enhance process. Now that we know we have AI upscaling, it has retroactively become realistic. The fact that they had to wait for it to upscale, the fact that they were like, oh, we'll see what it comes up with. Like that was actually oddly realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting
Enhance.
for sure.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with a 7.
A 7. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a very,
11.
very serious, relevant subject matter. It was pretty shocking and graphic to hear Kira describe what the Cardassians did to them, like burying the elderly.
Well, she specifically
alive.
says, burying the elderly alive, raping women,
That's
in front of their children,
and committing genocide, like direct genocide. Like it's pretty
it's
explicit.
some of the worst things. I mean, I don't know. When she was like, we just buried the elderly alive because they couldn't like move anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's the things that she's describing for me really, not that I didn't, I don't know if we've ever heard those kind of details before.
No, that's the thing. This is the first time we've heard of it being described
that
that
explicitly.
badly.
Yeah, it's pretty I knew it was bad, but those details kind of really paint this whole situation, this whole genocide in like a really clear picture. And then also you have him kind of, I don't know which version of him, at some point he's just kind of like, that never happened. We gave them a job. You know,
Yeah,
what
he was like, it's a
screams? What are you
dangerous place.
talking
They
about?
would steal and kill from each other.
Oh,
You're like,
there were rumors, you know, don't you think those rumors were started? And, you know, they were killing each other, kind of like the, you know, I don't know, the equivalent today of like immigrant on immigrant crime or, you know, whatever.
yeah, that narrative.
Insert whatever minority X, whatever minority crime, you know, and that kind of argument that like we didn't do anything to them. They were killing each other because they're savages, you know, or that kind of thinking. So just getting that back history was pretty shocking and illuminating and definitely made me, I mean, hate the Cardassians, of course, more and more. And it's terrible.
Did you say this is a modern thing?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like genocide?
Oh, no, you mean, no, I'm saying because it's an old thing. Like,
no, it's old.
Oh,
new,
yeah.
it's current.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
just that it also happens, still is happening.
I'm just trying to say that it's something that has happened, will always happen, is currently happening. It's something that is so baked into the human species here, unfortunately. I don't think it's something that would ever go away. You know?
But also, we only have us to compare it to. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know like aliens. We're like, does this species fucking do that shit? You know? Like,
well, Star Trek is trying to paint the picture that they do, apparently, because Cardassians aren't human, right?
But
it's like an issue that I guess transcends species.
In fiction,
the argument they're making in fiction. I mean, obviously, we don't have access to aliens and what they do at this point in time.
I think that, but that's what makes us unevolved. That's why I think. That's why I think that aliens would have nothing to do with us. This again proves my point that why would a species so advanced that they transcended bullshit like that want to, you know what I mean?
Well, again, I'm not going to go down this road.
It's not technically proof. And two,
it's
aliens.
It's not tangible proof, but like, why would we concern ourselves with what ants do or with what other animals do when they're?
But you're also looking at it from a very human perspective, right? You don't
but also
know you don't know what interests they have.
Yeah. But here's the thing: like,
things,
if a species has the ability for intergalactic travel, I tell you what, they don't concern themselves with genocide, dude. They're too busy thinking of fucking bullshit technology. I mean,
I wouldn't. I'm not going to speak for the aliens out there. I don't know.
They're probably out hunting. I don't know. Like predators.
I mean, I would hope if there are beings and aliens. Well, I'm not going to say hope. I know that there are beings and aliens that are far more advanced than us.
Dramatically.
Yeah, dude.
And I hope that they have. I know. But I hope that they have evolved past this point that we're at. I mean, that is my wish and my hope for them. I hope that they don't have to clock in and clock out of a job. I hope that they don't,
I mean, everyone has a job, period.
I hope that they don't have to pay rent. I hope that
somebody's job is to come up with technology for intergalactic travel.
Like aliens,
you think they do it for fun, for leisure? Like, you know what I'm doing this weekend? What are you doing, Tim? I'm developing this engine for intergalactic travel.
It's very human. Everything you're thinking of is it's a very human perspective, right? There's way more to it than that. Like, then I think it's a very limited perspective. So I would hope that they've moved on from that, right? For the sake of just living a better life. Because the human existence is difficult. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not efficient, really. It's not, we're not the greatest at what we do. Like, if I could give us a grade, I don't think it would be very good.
Oh, no. But I'm actually kind of the mind of Stephen Hawking when he discussed alien civilizations. He was like, we should do our best to be as quiet as possible and not attract any alien attention at all.
Yep, 100%.
Because the moment we do, we are screwed.
Yeah.
Like, if we invite an alien species that has enough power to be able to travel across galaxies and meet us, they are going to destroy us. Maybe not even cruelly, maybe just incidentally based on something else they're doing.
Yeah.
So
think about it. It'll go the way of like colonizing this country. You know what I mean? Like,
well, see, even with colonizing this country, they at least like knew they made an explicit effort to like colonize. We could just be like, I'm thinking more of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy kind of way, where we're in the way of a freeway or something.
You're like we got to run really fast through this fucking highway, and you guys are in the way. We're gonna just put a hole through the planet.
Yeah. Like,
but you guys will survive. You guys have the technology to survive that, right? And
enough of you will survive. Yeah.
I mean, if that's the story of the human race, then that's that. You know, I'm not trying to.
They got to get to work, right? They got to get to their 9 to 5.
Whatever.
They got to work. We got to work,
dude.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not.
Work.
I'm not.
Everyone's got to work, Sarah.
Like things happen, you know, and if that's, you know, the dinosaurs didn't think that fucking.
The meteor?
Comet or whatever meteor would fucking hit, and you know, bam, one day they're eating a tree or grass, and boom, you know,
it's the whole tree.
Fucking darkness.
Uncooked fucking trees, dude.
For years they die because there's no fucking sun or food anymore.
Crocodile survived.
Some of them, cockroaches survive. You know, whatever, sharks, whatever.
Sharks are older than trees.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that you never fucking know. Like, I know I live my life like, you know, hey, fucking asteroid fucking hit this planet. And
I thought you were going to say, you tricked me. I thought you said you were going to say, I live my life one mile.
A half mile at a time. I thought you were going to say.
I was like, she's going to say it. She's going to say it. Cue the music. Cue the fucking music, dude.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say, I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Yeah.
Because I do. Well, I try to, because we really don't know. And I don't pretend to know. I think humans have a long way to go. I'm disappointed in humans. So, but I try to find the good every day that I can. So that's
you can't be disappointed in humans. It's like you can't be disappointed in monkeys, dude.
I'm not disappointed in monkeys. I'm disappointed in humans. I'm 100% disappointed in us. I think
I'm pretty disappointed.
I think there's more reasons
We're
than
allowed
not
to be disappointed in ourselves.
Yeah, I am disappointed in the human race. 100%.
Because we haven't trained monkeys to use guns.
Among other things.
Yeah,
sure. That
there's
we
so
can
many
put
other
that on
things
the
we've
list.
had so much time to get right, and we haven't yet.
Yeah, we just haven't. Or the things that we know are wrong, like genocide, like doing the things in this episode, burying the fucking elderly alive. You know, we know this is wrong.
Well, let's not go too far there, okay? There's a lot of people in Congress.
A lot of elderly that kind of deserve it right now.
Yes, dude. I'm just saying that let's not jump to conclusions that fast. Let's slow down.
Raping women and children. We'll go there. That's we can all pretty much agree that that's not.
No, let's not go there.
Let's not.
That's not.
Let's stay far away from
we
that.
definitely don't want that.
A callback to Yamik sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, the Yamik sauce.
He brought up Yamik sauce. Hey,
they're gonna bring up Yamik sauce a lot.
Okay. Well, then what the heck, man? Then Quark definitely should have cared about having a supply, because apparently you can't just replicate it.
He wasn't forward thinking enough. Like
Jesus.
Yeah. So
God
so
damn,
what did I say?
awesome.
I give this a 7. Anyway,
you gave a 7.
It's I give them much credit for addressing a super super heavy topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to talk about.
We've addressed the Nazi topic before.
Have we in one
DS9?
episode?
I feel like we have, haven't we?
I don't feel like we have.
I
don't think
I
this
feel like every other
directly-
episode is a Nazi
this.
episode. I guess so.
This feels pretty direct, you know.
No. We've never had a direct. These are Nazis.
Yeah,
like Romulans. The closest Romulans get to is either like the Russians or the Chinese in the Cold War. Like we don't get Nazis. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty different.
Yeah. So I appreciate the willingness to tackle this off. The Yamik sauce, the willingness to tackle this heavy topic in a way that can be really hard to do in like an hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I have one more quick question.
Hour and 40 minutes. What kind of episode are you watching, dude?
I meant 45 minutes.
Yeah. What was the question?
So at the end of the episode, when Maritza is being led out and Kira's walking him, she's saying, "We're going to get you back to Cora 2, and the authorities are there and they're going to help you." What were they going to do to him?
They were going to fix his diabetes.
Like, wouldn't his return basically be like, welcome back, traitor? Like, you're being convicted for treason. We're going to kill you now?
I'm not entirely sure, actually.
I would love to know what the attitude would have been.
I am not 100% sure what.
Because Ducat would have been fully aware of his attempt to impersonate Darhe'el.
Yeah, which would certainly be a crime. So
yeah, and Odo let him know about that. So like, there couldn't have been anything good awaiting him upon his return.
Well, I don't think so. I think they were probably going to kill him or hurt him. I doubt it was going to be. It might as well have been a Bajor.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, Dan. I mean, I doubt they were going to welcome him with open arms. You know what I mean?
Is Korra 2 a Cardassian controlled planet? It is a Cardassian
season
planet.
Of television.
Yeah. Oh, hot take. That's not that hot.
No, not really.
Oh, so it is a Cardassian planet. Okay. So what was their plan sending him back just to get killed?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, for my score, I guess sorry to disappoint everyone because I think everyone was hoping we would all give higher scores, but I'm also going to give it a 7. Here's the thing. I understand this is an important episode, and I understand that this is actually an important tone-setting episode, especially for Kira moving forward. This is why I kept saying this is the more important part about this episode is the character development Kira gets. That's the most important part. But to me, this episode has 2 flaws, one of which is kind of minor, one of which is fatal. So the minor one is the one we discussed a lot about, which is that this double fake out thing is really complicated and kind of muddies it more than makes the thesis stronger. It sort of weakens it. The other is the very premise that they explicitly turn Cardassians into Nazis. That's a really big problem for everyone involved. I guess 10 years ago or so when I watched this episode, it hadn't really been on my mind to that degree. But now as I'm rewatching it, I have to put everything into context. So now we know Cardassians are explicitly Nazis, and they explicitly ran at least one concentration camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are all Nazis. One, that makes Maritza complicit. It doesn't matter if he was a filing clerk who didn't like what was going on and hid. He's still complicit in genocide, whether he was just filing papers or not. So in that way, he is still a war criminal. 2, this means Odo and Quark are complicit too. Odo and Quark both worked on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And Quark, you could say, is more of like a Switzerland, where Switzerland, they were neutral, but the fact that they were neutral. Well, Switzerland's neutrality was more of a way for them to profit off of the wars.
He's a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, he was profiting. Like Switzerland was actively profiting off of World War II in the same way the Ferengis were with this Cardassian occupation. Odo is like Italy. He actively worked with the Cardassians to enforce the Cardassians' rules. That means Odo is actively complicit in working with Nazis. That's a character problem, you know? And it also affects other things. It means
Wait, can you explain that a little bit more? Like, how do you know the details of what DS9 was doing? Because I guess Odo, it's
they were just working there, period.
It was their place, and Odo was there. He's like, they're the leftover staff.
They're the leftover staff.
Time.
All the Cardassians left, and they left behind their
they were
existing
essentially
staff.
The filing clerks of the day.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's not great.
Odo was more than just a filing clerk. Odo was the constable. He's the security chief. He's the guy.
So we're stopping this podcast now, right?
Yeah. Like Odo even says in the first episode, I liked working with the Cardassians. There you could tell what was supposed to happen and not happen. Things were clear. I don't like the gray you're doing as a Federation guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Bajorans are bad.
That paints Odo with this weird brush, because Odo is also, as a character in this episode, sympathetic to Kira. Like, he and Kira are close friends. But that's strange, because Odo is a Nazi sympathizer, essentially.
Yeah. I wonder if they thought about that in the way that you're thinking about it.
I don't think they did.
Or if they just kind of glossed it over and was like, whatever.
That's my fundamental problem with this episode. If the performances weren't as good, and if it wasn't as important to Kira's character development, this would actually be a much lower episode to me because of this problem. Because this is now, DS9's sense of continuity in canon is stronger than TNG's. So the fact that Cardassians are explicitly Nazis and painted this way is going to carry forward strongly, which means I can never get out of my head
that
that
Odo's
really-
a Nazi sympathizer.
that Odo is a Nazi sympathizer.
And what's his name? Fucking
And Quark made
there we
money
go.
off of it. Quark
Yeah.
essentially made money off of Nazis. Like, it's very weird.
It's
I don't
not
know.
great.
Part of me isn't entirely sure if they intended it to be this way. Like
I don't
maybe they
think
did.
they did because
Like a lot of the characters are supposed to have moral grayness here and there, but this is almost too far, in my opinion. And the way this could have easily been fixed was just not make it a concentration camp. They could have just made it like another awful place labor camp, which they've talked about before.
But you have to up the stakes for Kira's.
Well, they did call it a labor camp in the show. In the
Yeah,
show, they
called it
never said
yeah.
concentration.
But when Kira describes the
Yes.
atrocities,
Yes,
right?
and
But
then
that
that's
makes
different.
Kira's arc more powerful, right? I understand why they did. They're like, okay, we
yeah,
got to
it's in service of her arc. Yeah.
It's in service of her arc, but in so doing that, they kind of sacrificed some of the backgrounds of Odo and Quark. That you're kind of like
you're kind of damaged the world building. Combined with, you're also actually mildly damaging Cisco, because Cisco's the one who's going, maybe you should let him go, And he's like, no, he's a Nazi. Like, you don't just let.
Well, Cisco just wants a trial. He wants evidence and he wants a
Right,
trial.
but he said if it turns out he was just a clerk there, I trust we're going to let him go, right? And it's like, you probably shouldn't, because he was a filing clerk at a concentration camp.
Right.
Well, at least within the context of the show, that doesn't seem to pass the threshold for war criminal in their
In this context.
parlance.
Yeah.
Which is why
So-
I am not 100% sure if they didn't necessarily mean to say these are Nazis directly, but so many of the signs are there, and so many of
the signs are very clear.
it's like really difficult to not have that comparison.
Well, this might also be all based off of like the general 90s era understanding of how World War II went.
That too. I think that this was also more of an era where people were kind of going, Nazis are gone. They don't really exist anymore. Like, there was this fantasy that like right-wing Germany is dead and it doesn't exist anymore. So
Yes.
we're going to just pretend it's a bygone era. And should we really prosecute all of them? And it's like, now that we're in a more modern context, we realize, oh no, the Germans
They're
the
alive
German
and well.
AfD is rising again. Like, they're trying to become a party again.
Nazis right down the street from us the other day.
Yeah, Nazis literally exist in America more openly than ever before.
Oh,
you know?
yes.
So like the fact that because of that, it's like, okay, you're basically making the argument not all Nazis. And that's a quaint argument to make back then. And it doesn't really, I think it's aged poorly. Like, it doesn't apply
yeah.
correctly anymore.
I can agree with that.
Like everyone else, I agree with the spirit of it. Like, they're clearly trying to make like a very virtuous thesis and statement about what to do. It's like, don't trust the other person, or don't hate the other person just because they're a Cardassian. Don't hate them just because they're a Bajoran. Look at the people
Like guilt by association, but then sometimes you are guilty by association.
Yeah, this is more than guilt by association. This is guilt by helping run the concentration camp. That is not.
Oh, but look at his hangdog expression. He learned his lesson. Let's buy him a present.
Yeah, he's a good German. Like it doesn't absolve him of guilt. And it is helped by the fact that he does feel so guilty and that he's willing to die
Well,
in
he's
order
willing
to try.
to die to
Yeah.
sacrifice his life and get all this plastic surgery to make a point.
Yeah, and that does make his character actually more redemptive based on what he did. But there is still the problem overall, which is that now I have to always remember that Odo liked working with them. You know what I mean? Like,
And so did
it's
Quark.
a little weird.
And,
Like,
and
'cause
Cisco
Odo-
is
This
a
feels
little
like a revelation that should have been part of the fan discourse for like already. Like, there should be opinions on this and think pieces and such.
I mean, they very well
No?
could be in modern discourse. I intentionally hadn't looked up modern discourse about this because I wanted to
I'd
see
be
if
curious about that, actually.
re-experience it. Unlike other episodes of TNG I really liked, like that are famous, like Measure of a Man or Yesterday's Enterprise, where I know what happened exactly and I remember it, or The Drumhead. This one I didn't remember as much. I watched it a little over a decade ago. So rewatching it,
That I was singing?
I was like, I remembered back then that it was like, oh, this is a really strong, powerful episode. Now I'm rewatching it. I go, yeah, it is a strong, powerful episode, but it has like a fatal flaw that they are literally Nazis. And that's a problem because...
Well, that's like a long-reaching flaw that kind of recontextualizes the whole show.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't just this episode's problem now.
Yeah. It's this, to me, unfortunately, this is kind of a problem for Odo moving forward ever, because he explicitly said he liked working with them. And before, when they were like, this is sort of like an alternate future almost, where the Germans didn't like definitively lose World War II. The war just kind of stopped, Vietnam War style, you know? That's almost like what happened. Like, they pulled out of their occupation and the Germans continued to...
Pretty much what happened.
But to the point where the Cardassians like celebrated Goldar Heel on their planet and had a ceremony where half the planet saw him, you know? Like, they clearly still... are going about their ceremony and politics as if nothing had changed. Whereas, like, you know, that's hard to reconcile with, you know, the fact that they're still there. Before, you could have gone along with the fact that maybe they're generally imperialists, and that's kind of how it was brought up in the Four Lights episode. You kind of think of it as like, okay, they're very imperialist. That's still bad. They're still doing really bad things, but they're doing it in the name of empire expansion, which you could almost think of like as a Roman thing. You could almost think of it as like an Alexander the Great thing or Genghis Khanish thing, right? Which is all stuff they did bad things, but historically it's been about empire expansion specifically, right? Because they called it the Cardassian Empire. They're trying to grow the empire.
Well, this Maritza, when he's playing up being Darkeel, also says similar things.
Right. And I guess internally, the Nazis also were like, we're trying to grow the German Empire. We're growing the Third Reich.
Sure, it's common rhetoric.
Yeah, but we know that was more of a front to scapegoat for their issues. And yeah, it's hard to reconcile for me that this is now the reality of how it is. Like, the Cardassians, if they are all part of this system that they've built for themselves, this essential political system, they are all kind of evil. It's hard to have a black, hard to have a gray when you're Nazi.
Well, this is like Picard being a Borg. Like, you can't unsee it.
I mean, kind of, like Picard actually killed all those people.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to. It's gonna. From what I can remember, there's gonna be a lot that goes on. So I think there's gonna be some distance between this idea anyway.
I mean, I'm imagining that there would be,
But in the back of my mind, it's always gonna be there now to some extent.
Like when Picard's a goddamn Borg.
Just think of it as like the times when Batman used to use a gun.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, well, back then, remember Batman used to use a gun, so,
Or, so when
checkmate.
Batman just killed people straight up and was like, well...
Yeah, and that one time Odo said he liked working with Cardassians, so checkmate.
Yeah,
Nazi
checkmate.
Sympathizer. I mean, are you going to go look up if there's any kind of discourse or thoughts and about this?
Well, this is a good time to bring up our Discord's rating, which expectedly is a 10.
Wow.
Discord thinks this is one of the best episodes of DS9 of Star Trek of all time. And there is one person who kind of agrees with our point, actually, from Daystrom Review. They specifically say, as a piece of fiction with emotional depth written into the narrative, it is an absolute gem and an amazing addition to the Bajor and Cardassian dialogue. As a distinctly World War II inclined story, it's problematic because it repeats a long indoctrinated belief that only the upper echelon of the German Nazi regime were truly culpable of the horrors committed. I absolutely agree.
I 100% agree.
And that's how it was interpreted back then too. Even directly in the Nuremberg trials, they were sort of just prosecuting the upper. Everyone else got a pass, and I guess I know part of that was done so that, they didn't want to just wipe out an entire society, but also no one below a certain level of rank was held accountable. So
what do you do?
It's a really difficult question.
Hard. Yeah, that's hard.
If you had an entire society collectively decide to commit genocide, what do you do with that society?
I mean, arguably, we will have to answer for this sort of stuff soon enough.
Oh no, absolutely!
Eventually,
America,
we will all have to answer these questions for ourselves.
Like all these countries, we're going to have to eventually
better get some plastic surgery soon.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna get plastic surgery like George Bush and then pretend to be caught by like the Iraqi police military.
no,
And then
just
pretend that you're not George Bush.
just start learning how to paint, and all will be forgiven. Just
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not like it's an important story for Kira moving forward. I guess if you view it just from the view of Kira, then this is important enough.
But like, what's important that we learn that she's able to forgive and move on.
That she
like,
doesn't
what do we
like her motivations moving forward aren't fueled directly by racism. Before, she just hated every Cardassian straight up.
I
Now,
didn't really believe that of her, but that was just me personally.
yeah, it was like kind of pointed out here and there, but now it's like that nuance has now been
I
added
mean,
to her
I
character.
kind of
Yeah.
gave that up when she said she was willing to work on the case and be as fair as possible.
That's also fair, yeah.
Like, I didn't feel that you know what I mean? Like that she needed to be like, oh yeah, like I felt like her saying, hey, I know I have strong emotions about this, but I'm going to go ahead, go out there, do the investigation, get the evidence, do this the right way. I felt like that would have been sufficient.
And you believe her. You don't feel like she's fucking around in order just to be involved.
I believe her. I had no reason to not believe her to this point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I had never seen her in this point say that and not do that.
Right. And well, the way the episode plays out does like it's just providing you the proof that she was doing her due diligence and not settling for a comforting narrative that could have been like more arguably like more satisfying for the Bajoran people if it had gone off as the guy had planned it.
Yeah. And weirdly, it's Odo that puts her on the path towards finding the closer truth.
Yeah.
But Odo, in the episode itself, Gul Dukat's like, Odo, my old friend. It's like kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Oh.
I mean, Odo
Oh,
implies
no.
that, they weren't really friends, and Odo implies that he's actually not a big fan of him because he goes, you cheated in the one game that we played together, blah, blah, blah. But
I think it all
You know.
makes sense when you view it exclusively through that lens that was described, where when the upper echelon is the only people that are guilty and everyone
Yeah.
else isn't.
yeah,
If you just make that your assumption as you look at the episode, everything makes sense.
because even
Yeah.
Kira even says at the end, you were just one man. There's nothing you could have done. And that's
well, we understand. We understand the problem with that kind of thinking, right? Like,
yeah, and that's almost the thesis of the episode.
right. Which
Focus
is not
on-
a great thesis.
Yeah, focus on the individual actions. But in my opinion, his individual actions are complicit,
I mean, he played a very important role.
Yeah, or they're deserving of some sort of retribution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he played a very important role. It wasn't even like a minor role.
Not to say that everyone is deserving of the same exact punishment, but a reckoning is needed.
Yeah, there needs to be some, it would have been appropriate to put him on trial and see what he deserves.
Yeah,
They shouldn't let him go. They
100%.
shouldn't let him go, period.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, the
I'm
letting
saying.
go
Well,
is
that's where
it
the
gets
guy
like,
comes
oh.
in and stabs him.
the shanking makes up for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's why they wrote in the shanking. It's like,
Yeah.
well, he didn't get off. Like,
Yeah.
look at
Yeah, we got him.
Yeah.
Technically,
We got you.
okay. Good one.
but also nobody was rushing to hey, let's get medic 911.
Yeah, they were just kind of
That's also
staring.
true.
Yeah.
Everyone just
Also,
kind of
he
was
died. He
like,
died. He died really fast, though. He
Yeah.
probably got him in the Zorch, dude.
Yeah.
it was really quick, and there was very little blood on the knife, and no one was like, hey, we should apprehend this guy or medic.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean, Odo grabbed him right away.
Yeah, but also
Barely.
that
It's
place is
just
tiny. Where's he gonna run to the fucking
I don't know. I just
to one of
think-
those bays where something will fall on him and he'll die too? It's. I've realized that TNG is Final Destination, dude. That's coming for you and it's gonna get you one way or another, dude. Whether it's something
Star
Star
Trek
Trek
in general?
Yeah.
You know, just something I realized, it's whenever they say we need Dr. So-and-so here immediately, how come they don't just find where they are and beam them here right
Yeah,
now?
why don't they transport them?
Yeah.
Yeah, why do they always have to run there?
Yeah,
Because
that'd be cool.
maybe Jason Statham isn't available all the time, you know?
That's
Dang it.
knowing what I know now about the transporter, I'm okay. I'm going to run there. That's fine.
That's also true.
Do not beam me.
Or
please.
really, we should just be duplicating doctors. We need more doctors. So let's just
True.
duplicate Bashir's and just.
They should have made 3 Pulaskis. They're already
Yeah.
remaking one.
Yeah. They're like, well, what if they're like, well, it'd be nice to have an old Pulaski and a young Pulaski.
I mean, back to your rating of from the Discord channel, I really will have to go in and kind of read up on the discussion that's, I'm sure, being had over there about this episode, because I think that's so fascinating that most people rated it an average.
But I
10.
think, as far as I can gather from a surface level, I think the majority of people who are DS9 fans are like, yeah, this is like one of the best episodes ever. And it's like, I find that really interesting in retrospect, because I think back in the day, I probably would have agreed. But I think in a modern context, I no longer agree. So
I don't know if I would have agreed back in the day, but that's just me.
I think back in the day, I was caught up in the emotion of it and the performances and how it was constructed
and that's what
that way.
I think.
What do you mean back in the day? What do you mean back in the day? Like when you were younger?
Like over a
Younger.
decade ago, like maybe like 11 years ago when I first saw this.
Oh,
Or last saw this, I should say. So
again, I keep saying
and that was
this.
also
I keep
before
saying
Nazis
this.
were so visible again.
Yeah.
It's just
They're in the
hits
shadows
different now.
Yeah,
It is different now, 100%.
I think also back then, like over like a decade ago, I guess even like before I even went to like Cal Arts, I wasn't as like
Here we
like
go,
politic.
dude.
Well,
It's like fucking Harvard for you, dude. You're like, oh, back when I was in Harvard.
Oh God.
Well, it's just more like I didn't have politics as forward on my mind. You know, I used to think that, you know, you can avoid politics if you want to.
Oh,
you know, I was naive in that way. And now, you know, the truth of the matter is, whether you believe it or not, you always have
coming for
politics
ya.
thrown in your face. You know, whether you want to or not.
You don't have to care, but it'll come after you no matter what.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
it is a luxury and a political statement to be able to say, I don't have to worry about politics. That's a luxury that you need to be in a strong political position in order to be able to say that in the first place.
Strong, privileged position.
Yeah. So, you know, I
Most
think as a
people are
result,
not.
like, I think some of the politics in Star Trek episodes in general, I think about way more often as I see them now. And now.
But like, think who's writing these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was written by Peter Allen Fields with the story by Lisa Rich and Jean Kerrigan Fauci.
Dr. Fauci?
Maybe even related. I don't know. But Lisa Rich and Jean Kerrigan Fauci only worked on 2 scripts for DS9 ever. And then Peter Allen Fields worked on many scripts for Star Trek in general.
Like, were those the interns that pitched it then, maybe?
Not as far as I can tell. I think because they were producers too. So I think they were a bit higher up the chain. Maybe they were producers who also wrote.
Yeah, because it's like when you hear the story by credit, like it gets a little vague as to like, okay, what did they actually contribute?
Which it makes sense for a producer. If a producer was like, I have an idea for a story, and they pitched it, then they had a writer do it, that would make sense that's this story by. But yeah, that was our discussion of Duet. I think we disappointed a lot of people by rating it lower. Then
disappointment is hopefully we've encouraged everyone to think and hear out different points of view. I mean, we're not always going to agree for sure, and I know for me, I'm gonna go over to our Discord channel and read up on some of the thoughts that people have, and try to think about it from all different kinds of angles.
Yeah,
for sure.
What angles?
Yeah, just,
different POVs.
Yeah,
and
I hope that in the
different.
spirit of media literacy, that people take our arguments to heart. We're not just saying shit just to say shit. Like, I think we feel we have good reasons to feel the way we do. I think it does make sense why this. I guess for us, just
think
isn't,
Dan. Dan's right about that. In 2025, May of 2025, there's a lot of where I live, there were Nazis down the street parading very openly. So it's just a different, I don't have a memory of that happening in my neighborhood when I was growing up, but now it's a regular occurrence in my neighborhood.
Would you say that that's privileged?
I would say
because it was still around.
I think that's
no. I mean, I think there's just, it's a different time period where things are more acceptable.
I don't think so.
Than they were.
I think it's always been like this, but people are. I think it's always been like this, but because of social media, you're seeing it more.
Well, it's not even social media. It's just it's in real life. It's in front of my face.
I know, but I'm saying, like, just like you said, like like not being political is a privilege. Like you not seeing it is a privilege.
I think people are more willing to be open, come out of the darkness.
See, I don't think so. I think it's always been like this, and now you're seeing it more because
I mean, look when American History X was made.
Yeah,
what was that?
Exactly.
When did that come out? 2001 or something? Like, and that was in retrospect. Like I think what it is that most of us grew up like mostly during the 90s. In the 90s was peak neoliberalism. 90s was peak. Everything's okay now. The Cold War is over. We don't have to worry about anything anymore. I think one interesting observation that some people have made is that like the types of movies that were popular in the 90s were disaster movies because we have suddenly like kind of run out of things to be worried about, quote unquote, as a Western society, that we started making shit up. So we started making shit up about like this impossible earthquake or a volcano exploding or fucking Armageddon happening with Bruce Willis. You know, like we started making shit up. Then 9/11 happened. And now America had a new thing to worry about and everything sort of reoriented itself towards that. And neoliberalism kind of warped into a much more centrist movement. But I think what really happened is that because especially the people who were raising us also felt like, hey, the big crisis of our lives, which was the Cold War, and along with that, the threat of nuclear annihilation is kind of over. We don't have anything to worry about anymore. So like the idea of Nazis or hardcore right-wingers existing just wasn't on people's forefronts anymore. But
I mean, it was the next city over to me.
Yeah, I mean, like skinheads were popular in the mid 80s and they continued up until the aughts. You know, like it never went away. Like the Aryan Brotherhood was certainly there. Yeah, but they were quite large.
Like you knew, like on the next city over, like kind of don't hang out down these streets because that's where they hang out. Like,
there's large parts of San Diego that were like that's a skinhead neighborhood. Do not go there. You know, like
I think existed. That there's waves of, you know, especially after 9/11, especially like after like 9/11, right? You know, the Islamophobia and the
yes
know, like it's like there's these peaks of that kind of bring this spotlight on these things that are always existed, just maybe a little bit more in the shadows, maybe not as much in the news, but they're always there lurking. And
I don't think they're in the shadows. I think they're always out, that just we chose to ignore it.
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it was more of that they weren't populist movements. Now neo-Nazism is now a populist movement.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there are political parties in America running on it. Or not parties per se. I mean partially the party.
Our president, yeah.
But like they're candidates actively running on it. Like,
well, and you think about after 9/11, right? And all of the laws and things that started to happen to people who were, you know, even somewhat looked like they were maybe Middle Eastern, maybe not even, you know, or maybe just were, you know, I mean, we have literal physical laws that have come about because of everything that has happened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's what I grew up, you know, kind of my first experience was kind of like, ooh, this happened and this is the reaction to that. And, you know, being someone who is Middle Eastern and has, you know, Islamic family. And, you know, I saw that very front and center myself, the shift that happened for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that might have felt for a
as a kid growing up, it was like super traumatic.
Suddenly you're an enemy out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, and no boy, reason. people did not let you forget it at all. Like it was intense. So I mean, yeah, again, that's just my experience, but I feel like it's always been there. It's just kind of like these events, kind of like it was the popular opinion and popular thing to do, right, at the time. Yeah. And that was the reaction, right? That was the way the government wanted the people to react to their neighbors, to their family members, whatever it may be. That was what we were supposed to do. Now, looking back, we learned.
So I didn't. It wasn't a shock to me, but yes, I understand how that could, if you weren't dealing with it as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mean that happened when I
used to it by
I was a kid at that point.
Yeah.
It just wasn't so, like it's, I guess you have this massive event, right, that happens. And it's like one of the most horrific things that could ever happen, right?
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, you just have a big target on your back because of your last name and the way you look, maybe,
Right.
that's about it.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, yeah.
and that looks different for different people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever
Yeah.
that event may be.
No, my event was just existing, being born.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think as a Korean guy, my
Yeah.
relationship with racism has always been almost like I almost find it funny when someone's racist towards me. As a kid, when it happened once, or like the big event that it happened once, when I was like on a tour in the East Coast, and there was a lady working at the McDonald's who was like, "I'm not going to serve all of these CH words," because we were coming out of a Korean tour bus. But the funny part is when I think about that, like I find Korean slurs almost funny if they're said, and that's because of my personal relationship to racism. In that, like Koreans have not had a level of systemic racism leveled towards them as like the Arab communities have, or the Latino communities have, or especially the Black communities have. So
Sure.
it's like this. I had a quaint view of racism as I was growing up, and
You're the
now
model minority, Marvin.
yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
Asians are
basically, yeah.
the model minority. We're very good at academics,
Mhm.
and we stay quiet, and we just.
I mean, if you're going to be a minority, there are first picks.
So that there's that level of our,
which is
probably-
terrible, by the way.
but that's my level of interaction with it. But
Sure.
as I grow
Yeah, that
up
makes
and I have
sense.
more exposure to it, and I try to educate myself more about it, it's like
But you understand that it's all by design, right? Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, and
society has
How did we get here?
designed it this
How did we
way.
get here?
So.
because this
Oh,
episode's
is what
about
the episode's
Nazis.
about.
Okay. I was just trying to track how the fuck we got here.
It's all
All
by
I know
design.
is that it took me a very long time to understand that Oriental was a bad term because Top
Yeah.
Ramen had a flavor that was
Yeah.
called Oriental flavor.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
would
was
go
like,
to there would be
yeah.
restaurants that would say we are Oriental Express or something. Like they would exist. Like
Like Panda Express?
So like
but
even
Oriental
now
Express?
to my
yeah.
ear when I hear it, it doesn't automatically register as ooh. It's like that
you
word
actually think,
that I
oh,
used to
delicious.
hear. Yeah. The
This
blue
makes
package.
it makes
It's the
me
blue
wonder
package.
because Lady Gaga has in her Born This Way song, she says Orient.
Orientals?
She does.
But in what context? It's one of those words
Yeah.
that doesn't matter what the context is.
No, it's like
What was she
no
trying to say?
matter black, white, or beige, Orient or Chola, whatever. She's like listing off like
Let me see. Let me
You
see.
know, Born This Way. I don't know. I think people have said that
Oh, okay.
maybe
Oh,
moving
okay.
forward, she's going to replace it with something else because it's definitely not okay.
Okay, so the full verse is don't be a drag, just be a
Yeah.
queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, you're black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese,
Use your
you're
Orient. Yeah.
That's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's also weird that she says chola descent.
Wait.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
Wait,
See, Dan and I were Korean,
Wait.
so we think that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Marvin, is she talking about like sexual orientation?
No,
Orient.
no,
No.
she's not.
No.
She's not.
It's capitalized O Orient.
No,
Uh,
she's
There should
not.
be
And this,
parentheses AL at the end.
and this is something that's talked about a lot, and a lot of people are just
Or
like,
there's like-
okay, that's not.
Or there's like a chorus in the
okay,
background
right?
that just goes ching chong, as they say Orient.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not great, but it makes me wonder, like, has she moved on enough where she has gotten enough feedback where like, hey, I do know that there are a lot of people who do cover this song and they replace that word.
Well, I mean, also,
don't.
when was Born
Yeah.
This Way made?
Not that long ago.
When was Born This Way?
It's not like
written?
I was like in college.
Born this way.
Like 2011. Oh, it was written
Yeah.
in 2010. So it's
Yeah.
15 years ago. So
I mean,
Even
at the
back
time,
then-
no, but even back then, I remember when this song came out, I was like, that's weird. Like, I remember.
I think it's also weird that she says chola. Like, I don't know if you should be
Sure.
saying that, Lady
Yeah.
Gaga. Like, I think it's a little odd, but
But like I said, people who cover this song nowadays, they replace those problematic words with something else.
But to me, also, it's also in the spirit. The spirit and the context of the song doesn't necessarily give it a full pass, but it makes me more go, that's not the worst thing she could have done. Because the whole point of the song is about inclusivity.
Yeah. Also, as you get to decide whether to separate the art from the artist. That's at the end of the day. We're
not doing our Woody Allen shit again. Okay.
I'm still watching Woody Allen movies, even though he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
You listen to Lady Gaga or don't listen to Lady Gaga. You can say Oriental. You cannot say it. You might get banned from certain things, but you can
I've
say
just given up and started embracing my own hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just we're all born this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was our discussion of Duet. Thanks everybody for listening.
Keep it real.
Sorry, it's not what you wanted. I know.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
You were born this way, Marvin.
I mean, I got the closest to.
Yeah, Dan got the closest to. Also, I hope that you find our dissent interesting. I'm hoping that you realize that we're dissenting for thought out reasons. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for listening. If you guys liked it, maybe you could give us a like or a comment or a rating, or comment about why you disagree with us, or maybe you do agree with us. Maybe it's a thing. Just check it out wherever you're listening to this podcast, on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Spotify or Podcast Addict or wherever you are. Also, if you guys want to check out our merch store, fugitiveframes.store, we have 2 t-shirts and a hoodie up there for sale. I'm eventually going to add other products, but for now, check that out. Those are nice. We actually did a bunch of testing to make sure they were nice. The hoodie I've always been pretty happy with because it's just our logo, but it's an embroidered logo. So I've always been pretty happy with the way that turned out. We needed to do a few revisions to make sure it turned out the way we liked it. And if you guys want to get these episodes early, check out our Patreon or our YouTube membership. Both of those gets you early access to new episodes. It gets you ad-free versions of those episodes. It includes our sponsorship bits because people actually voted to keep those in, but it removes all of the stuff that YouTube and or our podcast provider adds. If you want to know what the difference between the Patreon or the YouTube membership is, basically the Patreon is if you're audio only, like you only like listening to audio podcasts, then
if you want that RSS feed that auto updates with the new members episode, then that's what you want.
Yeah, then you should go to the Patreon. Or if you do like the video specifically and you want to get the video version of the podcast early at the same time as you would for the Patreon, or a week early, then go for the YouTube membership. So YouTube membership basically is if you also like video. Patreon is if you only like audio. And both of those get you exclusive access to it. And also, both of those also give you exclusive access to our private Discord, which is always a good time in there. If you want to weigh in more directly on how you think about Duet, you could check it out there. And yeah, we're planning to add a few other features in the future. But yeah, check those out. Also, put your name in the ticker. If you're in the video version, you'll see a ticker running along the bottom of the video, and your name's in there if you're a patron or a member. And also, if you guys ever want to send us an email, you can always email us at contact@newbiestartrek.com. That's contact@newbiestartrek.com. This week, our email is from Jeff. And Jeff has subject lined the email, Odo's unit theories. So, hello, guys. Based on your recent
unit?
Odo's unit.
Oh, yeah, dude. He's got a big old hot dog.
Well, that's the subject of the email. So, hello, guys. Based on your recent episode and discussion of Odo's wiener, I thought I'd share the theory I've had for a while. What my theory presupposes is that he can pretty much
Wait. Before you finish reading, I could imagine this guy like Goodwill Hunting fucking bored with like his fucking dick theory,
How do you like them apples?
You're going to say like story instead of theory, which would have, implied something else about what we're about to hear.
Oh, he had an encounter with Odo once, and he could
an encounter at Farpoint.
Swear
you know what I mean, dude?
What my theory presupposes is that he can pretty much make it any size he wants, but he basically has a fixed volume, kind of like a Stretch Armstrong toy.
Like a base value.
Yeah. So if he produces a huge rager, then maybe his arm withers away, like the butler in the scary movies.
That's okay.
Also,
that's fine.
Just the arm specifically.
Well, when you said that, I thought you were going to say, and what my theory presupposes is that maybe Custer didn't die. in Battle of Bighorn?
Also, maintaining his solid form is akin to keeping an erection. So after so many hours, he can't keep it anymore and goes into what henceforth we shall call his refractory period. Anyway, I greatly enjoy the show and hope you keep it going for all the Star Trek series. Jeff, send for my iPhone.
I don't like all this dick talk.
I don't subscribe to that erection theory because
first of all, this is a human anatomy, dude. First of all, second of all, you're body shaming us, dude. You want us to be open and like be accepting of everything and like be loving and enjoy the energy of crystals, but you shame us when we talk about penisi.
What if he doesn't have a dick?
Let him cook, dude. Let him cook.
He could make one.
What if he
could have a cloaca?
What if he has a vagina?
He could
have a noodly appendage.
Yeah. He can make a vagina as well.
He can do whatever he wants, dude. You know what? With consent, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
See?
Absolutely.
He can make that hand mouth that Scorpion has from Mortal Kombat.
Or the Predator mouth. You know
when I was a kid, here's the dumb part. As a kid, I thought, what a great idea. It explains it. As I got older, I was like, what a stupid idea. Why would it be a snake?
Yeah. It's pretty dumb.
I think I might have been like obsessed with the idea of like weird hands and mouths because of Morbius from the Spider-Man cartoon. Like,
right. Yeah.
He is legitimately scarier because the claws are in his hands, his palms, than he's sucking blood with his mouth. Like, it's legitimately
you can't
scary,
say that, dude.
You know, so
yeah, he had weird fangy hands.
Yeah.
I mean, all this to say, if Odo has to give a little, lose a little length on the arm to make other aspects grow bigger and better, I think that's fine. You know,
I think that's totally fine.
That all makes sense. But I did want to say that I don't subscribe to the erection theory because it would imply that he needs to be like constantly looking at things that keep him in shape or thinking of things that keep him in shape.
He must be constantly aroused, or
because it needs to be a reaction to something as opposed to like a flex of his own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it needs to be off of stimulation as opposed to his own exertions.
He's more like All Might, where All Might has to like flex a muscle.
Is that how erections work? It's not really like a muscle thing. It's a reaction to a stimulus.
So penises aren't muscles. That is a misconception. Penises is just an organ that only engorges.
It's filled with blood.
When it's stimulated to fill with blood.
Stimulated
mentally, physically, whatever that means to you.
Whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways a penis can be stimulated, but it requires a stimulation
through the butt.
Yeah, and it's really difficult for it to be done voluntarily.
Fingers in the butt.
But once the stimuli is gone, the erection's gone.
Maybe not.
If you want the stimuli to be gone, show me like a bare feet, and then I'm out.
well, for some people,
snap out of it.
Some people have a problem where like it's hard for their erection to go away. Like,
right. I think on weird medical
like
shows or whatever, they're like,
only crank it when he's wearing a gi and hanging himself.
I can't get the erection to stop.
Yeah, that's a problem. They have the opposite Viagra. They need an anti-Viagra.
Well, that's why all of them have that disclaimer. If you have an erection that lasts more than 6 hours, consult a physician or...
Yeah. And if you don't like it, just don't consult anybody.
Yeah.
But also that's like a medical... I'm talking about just the norm, right? We're not talking about anomalies, you know.
Well, but it's hard to... You have to wait.
Like you can't like...
You gotta wait it out.
Yeah.
You can't flex it like a muscle and maintain, like Dan was saying, like maintaining it in terms of like, you don't need a stimulus. You can like hold that flex, hold that shape.
You can't hold the penis without
just think about like, can you maintain like on your own mentally, like how much control do you have over your own state of arousal?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
think about that.
Yeah.
But the muscle you can use is the old gooch. The old gooch muscle to
you use gooch interchangeably for most things, so I don't understand.
Yeah,
what
you can mean anything
whenever you say gooch.
You can mean a sandwich by this point. I don't know what else.
Yeah. The gooch is like the little place between the testicles and the butthole.
That's a taint.
The taint.
It's also gooch.
Gooch. You've used gooch as like vagina and butthole before.
Yeah, it's a goocher.
So you can like
accoutrement.
A accoutrement.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you like say you don't want to let a lady down, right? You start flexing the old goocher, the accoutrements, and you can kind of hold it back. You know what I mean?
So they're
It's
little
like you're
tips and tricks.
pulling back the horses. You're like, hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
When
Got
you pull back horses, you go, hey.
You son of a bitch.
You neigh like the horses do. You
Yeah.
go, whoa.
Okay. So yeah, I can agree that probably what Odo's doing
We're teaching Sarah a lot of things today, I feel like.
is what Odo's doing is less of a maintaining an erection and more of a this
Holding
is
a
my
muscle.
form.
Yeah,
And-
but Odo
yeah.
works differently than humans. You know, he's a liquid metal type of guy, you know?
Well, I would if it is like an erection, I would then ask
gets all
what is
sweaty.
stimulating him all day that keeps him in form.
Oh, you know
Right.
what's stimulating.
Justice.
Justice, dude.
Legit.
Yeah, that's a
Just
good
keeps him erect.
question.
Valid.
Maybe we'll find out.
Truth, justice.
Yeah, and all this to say he's an alien, so this probably need not
Yeah,
apply
none of
for
this
him at all.
applies at all.
I think
And
I think
they've
to be
like
fair,
fucked up his rules multiple times in the course
Yeah.
of the show already. Anyway,
Yeah.
so.
I think the way he's staying together is by flexing the old goocher. You know what I mean?
Okay, I mean that could
He's
be
just
it.
like
For all we
constantly
know,
you know?
I mean
Yeah.
he could be.
That's the sound he's making all the time. Yep.
Yeah.
It's going, ooh.
Yeah, like Miles Dyson in Terminator
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. Miles Dyson, he was actually trying to maintain, he was holding up that trigger with his erection. And the moment the erection went away, the bomb
It's
was
funny how I mentioned the noise Miles Dyson makes, and you
Yeah.
immediately know exactly what it is, what he's doing, what his
Yeah,
face
yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very iconic.
It's
Good
one of the
movie.
most iconic scenes in all of James Cameron movies. It's
Yeah.
just
People think it's a diamond or like the paint me like one of your French women.
No,
it's the Miles Dyson.
And the weird thing is, like, he was holding like a heavy piece of something over the trigger just to make sure he bonks it right.
Well,
Yeah,
because it was smart though, because like if he dies and his body gives out,
and if
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
tried
yeah.
to like approach him, he would have
Yeah.
just been, fuck it, I'll drop it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
if somebody shoots him
Yeah,
and he's
drop
reaching
it.
for it, he can kind of
Yeah.
go back. But if
Just say
someone
like
shoots him, he
it
just
was well
drops it.
thought out. It was well thought out.
yeah.
It
he thought it out.
was it's one of the most well thought out scenes ever, dude. If I'm
Yeah.
being honest with myself here, like forget that John Connor sent his dad to fuck his mom through time, dude.
That makes sense.
There's a theory that Kyle isn't really, that she was already pregnant,
Mm.
and that he like whoever like banged her then was inconsequential to.
I thought she was a virgin.
She never said that.
I thought that was implied that she was a virgin.
There's a theory
before.
that the guy that comes in to hook up
What
with her
would
roommate.
imply that?
What would imply that? Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember thinking that there was something that implied
he's a virgin. He's a virgin.
That's true.
Kyle
He's a
is.
virgin. He's
Yeah.
never had sex.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is that there's a theory that the dad, John Connor's dad, is the roommate's boyfriend.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But these
well,
film
yeah.
theories could be anything.
Yeah, every
Miles
theory
Dyson,
is
Or
true.
Miles Dyson. Good to go.
By the way, Jeff sent for my iPhone. So Apple finally lost that court case that said because they lost this court case, they can no longer take a cut from in-app purchases anymore. So by the time you're hearing this, it may be okay now if you're on an iPhone to both sign up for Patreon from your iPhone and or to sign up for a YouTube membership from your iPhone in the YouTube app. That should be possible. But
And maybe you can finally play Fortnite again.
yeah, maybe. You know what, Jeff? Thanks for the food for thought. Thank you. You guys out there, thanks for listening to our bullshit. If you guys would like to hear more stuff, you can head on over to fugitiveframes.com.
Which should be called bullshit. The podcast.
Well, it's not just things to listen to, but there's also things to watch there at fugitiveframes.com. But one of the things you also can listen to there is the Would You Stay Tuned podcast. We have episodes
Would you?
coming up. Yeah, would you? Would you? We have episodes like when we discussed Breaking Bad, we discussed The Sopranos, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, The Penguin, all sorts of
Wow.
shows. Yeah. Basically, the premise is we watch the first episode, the pilot, and then we ask ourselves, would we stay tuned? So there you go. All right. Next time, we're going back to TNG and we're actually going to watch Timescape because it turns out that actually aired the next day. So yeah. Next time, back to the world of TNG, timey-wimey episode called Timescape. So there we go. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Take care, y'all.
Not my chair, not my problem.